What up? What up? What up? Welcome to College Basketball Heat Check with my man Eli B. Eli, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. We're gonna do things a little different today. We had a little bit of some delays to start the show. Had a couple of lineup changes, but we have a really awesome show today for you. We have a special tribute to Coach Lou Hill, who tragically passed away a few days ago, head coach at UTRGV. And yeah, we're going to do some great things here on the show. Some guests are going to talk about him. We're going to do a special tribute in about an hour, specifically for him with some people that know him closely. But before we really start and get going, we're going to give a moment of silence for him and also Tom, who was a longtime scout on the East Coast, high school basketball scout, who also passed away. And of course, we lost Pedro Gomez, unfortunately, too, which is just been a tough week as far as losses and COVID. And so stay safe, wear your mask. We're going to say a quick prayer, and then we're going to get started with our jam-packed lineup. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity to just share in this game we love. We thank you for all you bless us with. We just pray you be with the people that are hurting, that have lost loved ones. The basketball community has lost some important people to them, to us, and so has the sports community with Pedro Gomez as well. We just pray you just continue to watch over us and keep us strong and keep us healthy, and all of the coaches in the country at all levels and all the leaders that are leading young people and leading people with this challenging time, this adverse time, this unknown time. Just continue to be with us, continue to strengthen us, continue to protect us and keep us from harm, and continue to lift those families up who have lost loved ones. And we just pray for just an awesome show today that we can highlight some great things going on in college basketball, along with pay a special tribute to Coach Lou Hill in particular. So we thank you so much. In Jesus' name we pray, man. All right. So, again, we're going to do a special tribute for Coach Lou Hill in about an hour. We have a really powerful lineup today. We have Coach Paul Mills, head coach at ORU, is going to come on in just a few. We have an assistant coach, John Trilly from Abilene Christian, who is in first place in the Southland, now going to the WAC. We have a Big 12 head coach that's really good at what he does. Is going to come on as well. We have another first place head coach from the Horizon League that's going to come on. We have another first place head coach from the Sun Belt that's going to come on. We have one of the best point guards to ever play in the NBA on the East Coast in Toronto. They call him Mighty Mouse, if you know who that is. He's going to come on. And then we have our last guest is actually from one of the two undefeated teams in the country. And just have an unbelievable lineup today. We also will have a staff member, former staff member of Coach Hill, is going to come on and talk about Coach Hill. We also have a member of the grassroots community who's going to talk about Coach Hill, who knew him closely. So we have a lot to cover today. We're going to get straight to it. Thanks so much for joining in. We'll start with Coach John Trilly from Abilene Christian. Coach Trilly, what up, homie? How you doing?
How's it going, guys? Appreciate you having me on.
Going very well. Great to have you. So those of you that are watching, please like, share, subscribe. We will also take comments the entire show. So if you have comments, please share them. We'll make sure to get those to our guests as best we can. Yeah, we already got an amen from Coach Anthony Anderson. Thanks so much, Coach. I appreciate you tuning in. And yeah, we lost a great one, and we'll get more to that as we keep going. So, Coach Trilly, you guys are rocking and rolling. Just came off a win last night. You probably didn't get much sleep. We appreciate you getting on. Joe Golding is a rare commodity in college basketball. Obviously, you have Coach Tanner. You have a great staff. You also have yourself, who's won a lot, which we'll talk about that in a little bit, in your tree. But let's talk about Coach Golding and start out. I mean, this guy I've obviously worked for him. I'm biased, but what a tremendous job he continues to do to start from Division II, now Division I, and gone to the tournament, and now continuing to stay at the top of the league. So talk about Coach Golding and what makes him special, if you don't mind.
Man, I just think he's just one of the great people in college basketball. He's very genuine. He's honest, and he is who he is. And I think the guys really feed off that, and they can feel that he's as real as they come in college basketball. He doesn't hide who he is, for better or for worse. And people, I just think
we may have lost Coach for just a second. We got a little freeze. Abilene, West Texas, got a little weather out that way. Let's see if we can get him out of here for a second and bring him back. Bring him right back. Coach Trilly's got a little technical difficulties. So yeah, we're going to talk more. Again, we have a power pack lineup today. I think we've kind of gone over who's on the lineup today. We do have multiple head coaches, multiple top 25 teams, multiple head coaches that are in first place currently at this moment in time, assistant coaches that are. Again, we're going to do a special tribute to Coach Lou Hill during the show. I'll talk a little bit about Coach, and I think it hits all of us hard when we lose somebody in the community, right? And Coach Hill, I met him. I was at the beginning of my career. I was at Collin County Community College, and his daughter was a student there. And he used to come by and see us in the basketball office. We didn't have anybody good enough to recruit to go to UNLV at that time. And shout out to Taz Sherman, who's playing really well at West Virginia from Collin County. So Collin County does have good players, but we did not have anybody UNLV worthy at that time. But Coach Hill would just come and hang out in the office. And I was actually an apartment resident advisor. So his daughter lived in the same apartment. So I felt like I had a certain amount of responsibility to look after. He never said it, but he kind of, with his East Coast swag and his fun and his energy, he was tremendous. And anybody that knows him knows there's nothing but good things you can say about him. I don't think there's one person that can say a bad thing about Coach Hill. And I think it just says a lot about him, how many people have reached out, poured out, really gone above and beyond, even head coaches. I mean, Coach Beard, Buzz Williams, guys that, grew up in Texas along with him. And he was a really elite recruiter at Oklahoma, at UNLV. He was a guy in many minds that was feared as far as being across the lines from him in recruiting, although he was a great guy and never would, never was confrontational that I know of, never had any enemies, but people just knew how hard he worked and how good he was at what he did. And then to do what he's done at UTRGV, to put them in first place. They had only played 2 conference games, but to turn around that program and break the records that he continued to break there was just an amazing, amazing thing to see, and just hate for everything that's happened and taking place. But we'll give more honor to him as we keep going. We'll bring Coach Trilly back in the studio. I think he's good to go now. So for credibility wise, let's give the people some credibility. They don't know who John Trilly is, so let me let them know a little bit. So John Trilly's dad was a coach, really good coach. Coached at North Texas, coached at Midwestern Division II, coached at Newman, maybe, or was AD at Newman. My wife he actually hired my wife as the volleyball coach there, and she broke some records. So cool story there. But John Trilly has worked for Nelson Haggerty and won championships at Midwestern State Division II. Then worked for Chris Beard, won championship at Little Rock. Then from Little Rock, don't tell me. I don't know where you went after Little Rock. Did you go to North Texas then?
North Texas, yes.
North Texas, won a championship there with Grant McCassin in the CBI, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And then went from North Texas to Abilene Christian, went to the NCAA tournament, made history. Then came back and went junior college for probably a Hall of Fame JUCO coach in Coach Bucket Ballman. And then from there, you went to
back
to ACU. Now you're an assistant. So you were an ops the first time. Now you're assistant. So you were kind of telling us about Coach Golding and what you feel like makes him special. So talk a little bit more about that before we kind of move to the next thing.
Yeah, like I was saying, I just think he's just one of the great guys in our profession. He's very genuine. He doesn't hide who he is, whether that's a good thing or the bad thing in that particular situation. He is who he is, and he's unapologetic for it. And I think the guys that play for him, they appreciate that because he allows himself to be vulnerable to them. And I just think it's worked very well for him because he's comfortable in his own skin now. and he is who he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Talk about the basketball side real quick, and then I'll pass to Eli. What do you think it is? And I'm biased, so I can say what I think, but what do you think it is that makes him specifically good at the basketball coaching? Because you can't just be a good guy and a nice guy and win games like he does. We know he's a competitor just by how he coaches, but what is it about it that allows Abilene Christian to stay at the top of the conference? We know the defensive numbers are elite, but your offensive numbers are also good. And so talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, he's worked at it over the years. He's found a system and found what works here at Abilene Christian. Obviously, him playing here, he kind of knew. But he just, like any young coach, had to figure out what worked for him. And I think, his energy every single day in practice, he leads and comes with the energy every single day as a leader. He sets the standard within the program for the energy and the expectation that he has that for all of us. Every day that he steps on the floor, he brings it. And Coach does a great job as well, coming with energy and passion. And they're very passionate guys, and neither one of them have an ego, which helps as well, because Coach Golding is open to any ideas from anybody on the staff or even the players. So listen to the players as well. And I just think it works throughout the entire program when everybody has a voice and he allows everybody to have that voice and speak up. So it makes everybody comfortable and everybody gets invested in the program a little bit more as well.
Yeah, I think he gives ownership. I think he's comfortable in his own skin. I think he's elite at relationships and being able to add humor in. I think he's a teacher of the game. He has a crazy kind of energy that's fun, but yet, he's not playing around. And then, I think Tanner deserves credit. He's been on the show before early in the season when you guys got off to such a hot start. But what an elite defensive coach. I think Mark Adams gets a tremendous amount of credit at Texas Tech, and rightfully so. But I think Coach Tanner is one of those elite defensive minds as well to win the conference the way you did when you won the tournament. I think that was the thing he was most proud of, is having the best defensive numbers in the conference, and I'm sure that's something he still holds his hat on. So I'll pass it to Eli. We'll get at least one funny Joe Golding story before we go, too.
Yeah, I think just kind of going off of what you said about Joe Golding and how this roster is set up in particular, it's really experienced, really deep roster. How does this all mesh together in terms of things like chemistry and also the continuity within the roster when you're playing in a really unusual season?
Yeah, I think if you go back even 2 or 3 years to when they were starting to build this thing and get it going in the right direction, they did it with a lot of 4-year kids. So we've been able to have continuity and build through those roles. And then when we got into the tournament 2 years ago in 2019, it allowed those freshmen who are now juniors. They played very big minutes down the stretch in the conference tournament for us. So there's no surprises throughout the year for these guys. And now they're juniors and seniors, and they're able to talk to our young guys and explain to them how, even though if their role may not be as big as they want it to be right now, those 8 to 10 minutes that they're getting are very big and important, and they can talk and share those experiences. So I think it's just gotten to a point where now we have so much growth and consistency. These juniors and seniors have never really gone through the struggles that Coach Golding and Tanner had to go through early on in this process. And now, kind of the expectation around here.
And with that, the team is so elite defensively, leading the nation in defensive turnover rate. The efficiency is one of the best out of the Southland Conference in a number of years. Is there maybe a certain buy-in or something that you and your staff need to preach to the players to have that kind of collective enthusiasm about defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all take pride in it, and it's credit to our guys and Coach Golding and Tanner, the way that they kind of got this program going and what it's built on. Coach Burton talked about it earlier. One of the things that they really focus on is building real relationships with our guys. It carries off the court just as much as it is on the court. So it allows us to coach them hard and take pride in these things. and defensively, you know, over the years, we've just gotten to a point where, you know, we've taken in forcing turnovers and holding teams to under 60. You know, we have a goal every single night. We try to force 25 turnovers as a team. That's our goal. So you look, last night we only had 18, but I mean, most teams would take 18 any night. We set the standard very high, and the guys are completely bought into it. And I think it all just comes back to the relationship aspect. These guys care about each other. They care about coach, and coach cares about them as well. And so I just think it allows. It sounds a little cliche at times, but when it's genuine and it's real, you can see it becomes a special thing, like it is right now. And so we've just been really blessed to have good kids that are just bought into our philosophies, and they hold each other accountable just like we hold them accountable.
And as far as schematically on the defensive side, I've really enjoyed watching Abilene Christian defend. You guys go after it, kind of interesting styles and what you do in you know, ball screen coverage and things like picking guys up, you know, all full court and things like that. It's what gets me going. I like watching that brand of basketball. You as a staff, I mean, you don't have to name names or anything like that, but do you as a staff try to emulate something that other teams are applying? We've had a lot of coaches on this show talk about different things that NBA teams do, or you know, a lot of people like to borrow things from Tony Bennett and his Virginia staff. Is any of that true? Do you borrow or kind of analyze what other teams do and maybe try to implement it?
I think a lot of it, you know, Coach Tanner worked under Coach Casper back at Stephen F. Austin several years ago when they were kind of first getting that program going. So a lot of his philosophy and principles come from there. And then he's kind of put his own twist on it over the years and made it his. And I think, you know, he also took the time and looked to see, you know, in today's game, it's very freedom of movement. Most teams are worried about fouling. And so we decided to do something completely different. And you know, our defense is very aggressive, which most teams do not play this aggressive style in today's game. So I think it's just something that throws a lot of teams off just because you don't see it very often. A lot of teams prefer to play gaps and stuff like that today. And we're out in passing lanes and forcing turnovers. And you know, we always tell our guys, err on the side of being aggressive once you guys go make plays. And then we help build in for you all throughout the floor. So I just think that's something. I just think it's a completely different look for what most teams do in today's basketball game.
And as far as some of the individuals on the team, guys like Joe Pleasant and Colton Cole, and some of these guys who have, you know, developed over the years, and now they're really contributing at a high level. What can you say about some of the upperclassmen on this roster and kind of how they've developed over the years?
You look at Colton Cole, he's a fifth-year guy. I mean, he's a guy that's gained 100 pounds over his 4.5 years here on campus. That's a lot of weight to gain for anybody, let alone, I mean, for a 7-footer to be carrying an additional 100.
I think we might have lost John. I might want to loop it back.
Yeah, I think he's had a little bit of trouble this morning. Let me see. I think he's coming back. Okay, John.
Yes,
You're good.
Renovation problems.
You're good.
No, but yeah, you can just go down the line, man. All these guys are bought in. I think Reggie Miller is kind of the unsung hero on this team. He's our leader in the huddles. He's our leader out there on the floor. He's the extension of Coach Golding. He comes from a great past of coaches, you know, and he's been coached up on the defensive side his entire career. And when you have him and Damian Daniels on the floor, you got two guys that are under 6 foot, but they really cause problems and get after the ball handlers. And I think that's been it's been a great thing for us this year.
And what would you like to see? You know, you guys are off to this phenomenal start. What would you like to see that maybe you haven't seen the first few months of the season?
So those that don't know, they're having some fancy renovations done over at ACU. They're doing some upgrades to their facility, so they're struggling a little bit with the Wi-Fi. We are going to give him about 30 seconds or so, and then we're going to do our best to move on to our next guest and keep the show rolling. Definitely want to give Abilene Christian their credit, though. They've had a tremendous season to still continue to be at the top of the league and defending at the high level that they are, along with, again, we've talked about them going to the WAC, and that's an exciting league to move into. But they have a great opportunity to possibly go play and go dancing again, which, again, it was already unheard of that they did it in such a short amount of time to start. Going from transition Division II to transition to Division I. I was blessed to be a part of the beginning of that transition, actually those early Division I years. We got Coach Trilly back. We'll let him kind of close some things out. Hey, you talked about your defense. Your Wi-Fi defense is playing some good defense right now over there in the facility.
That's in the country.
So talk real quick. I know we're talking about the things. Talk real quick about the WAC, the new renovations. That's part of the reason why you're having the Wi-Fi trouble. And then we'll let you get on your way and sneak in one thing about the ACU difference that people don't know that you'd like them to know.
Yeah, man, it's a great time right now. When you look at how well the school is doing, all things considered, I don't know if there's too many universities that are getting entire new freshman dorm being built, as well as the brand new renovations that we're going through right now. Basketball that'll be ready the start of next season. Our entire new gym, practice facilities, all that stuff will be revamped. Everything is going to look brand new. I just don't know if there's that many places that during COVID have that much growth going on and commitment from our leadership. You talk about our success, and a lot of it comes from the leadership up top, from our president, Dr. Schubert, and Director Alan Ward, and just meeting a commitment to athletics. I think that's a huge key, been a huge key to our success these last few years as well, is their commitment to athletics, and us moving to the WAC is the next step for us as a program, and we're just really, really excited about the challenge moving forward. But personally, we're excited about the finish of this year. We got to finish it strong, and hopefully we can kind of get some of that March magic and get back into the NCAA tournament if we finish this thing off before we do the WAC. So
they say, Coach Trilly, no pressure, but they say you're the secret weapon, right? So you did it with Coach Beard. You went to the tournament at Little Rock. Then you did it at Abilene. Then you did it at North Texas. Then you did it at Abilene. They brought you back just for that. That's what I was told. So no pressure on you.
I think it's a lot more than just me. I've been around some great coaches, some great players. Been fortunate everywhere I've been to be around winning. I just like to add my little piece and do my part, whatever that is, however big or small it may be. But hopefully we can get back there again, man. I wouldn't mind one more time. Wouldn't mind reliving it. So, and if anybody hasn't seen Trilly's dancing from when they did go last time, it's worth watching because it could go. I think it went viral then. So let's prepare for. Do you have a new dance ready? Last question. Do you have a new dance ready? No, I'm getting older. I don't know if I can move like I used to a few years ago. The last 2 or 3 years have gotten a little rough on the body. I'm starting to feel it, so. No doubt. I'll get there and celebrate with the guys if we go dancing in March. I'll be in the.
No doubt. You'll do a great job of it, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Jay Trilly. Excited for what you guys are doing, man. Continues to be impressive. Tell Coach Golden, give him a bear hug for me, and tell the rest of the guys I said hello. Absolutely, man. Thanks, guys, for having me on. Appreciate y'all. Thanks, John. Have a good one. Okay, awesome stuff there from Coach Trilly. If you haven't seen him dancing, definitely worth checking it out, YouTubing or Google searching last time he was on. So speaking of first place teams, we're going from one first place team to another. We have the reigning conference coach of the year in the Horizon League, the current first place leading ball club in Cleveland State. So excited to have Coach Dennis Gates on from Cleveland State. We're going to bring him into the studio. Coach, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Excited to have you on, Coach. We're fired up, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm great. Thanks for having me. Obviously, definitely a blessing to be here, and I enjoy listening to you guys. You guys do a great job.
Yeah, thank you, Coach.
Speaking
of great job, let's talk about the real great job. So, Coach of the Year, I got to see it up close last year, unfortunately, but fortunately, you've worked for some of the best. You have broken a record, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 14 conference wins in the Horizons, the most Cleveland State's ever gotten in the Horizon League. I don't know if you knew. Did you know that, Coach? You probably didn't know that.
I hadn't. I don't really pay attention. I think I need the summers to sit back and evaluate what's been happening, but I'm on the front lines with the guys, and we just stand focused. But definitely, it's something that our alumni and fans are proud about. No doubt.
So talk about the so I can say this. I saw it up close. I know you're a guy who's about details. You got the job in July, Coach. Nobody thought you guys would be competitive, including people outside of the league, but even the people in the league. I think you got picked last simply because, not because of your coaching ability, but simply because of the fact you got the job so late and so many players left. But what an amazing job. I think arguably my favorite video to watch on Twitter last year was your team celebrating and telling you how you got Coach of the Year. So you could just tell there was a magic energy that those guys really bought into. So talk about just how you've built this thing. And in year 2, with a lot of JUCO guys, I know the JUCO world is really happy about what you're doing with those guys. But talk about how you've built it from year 1 to year 2, and you're already this far ahead where you're competing for a conference championship.
Well, I appreciate that question. I'll take you even farther away and farther back. I think it starts with the people you lock arms with. Leonard Hamilton taught me a lot. George Raveling has taught me a lot. But most importantly, they taught me how to protect your dreams. They taught me how not to allow someone else's insecurities to be masked and thrown onto you. So whatever people thought of Cleveland State, I didn't want it to be convoluted with what my dream was to become a head coach at a tradition-rich place. And I saw the tradition that Cleveland State had. So once you kind of get through that part, it begins to show, it begins to glow, it begins to permeate in between all those people that you touch from our staff that we built: Rob Summers, Ryan Sharbaugh, Drew Joyce III, Chase Goldstein, Dickie Nutt, and obviously Steve Wright at the time, but now we hired Rosby Mutcherson. But you look at all those guys and the things that they carry, and before you even start talking about the student athlete, you got to have a sort of staff in place to carry the load and show by example. And our young men that we recruited, some refer to them as junior college kids, but I refer to them as non-traditional junior college students. Some of those guys, majority didn't have to go JUCO out of high school. They went there because they were under-recruited, under-evaluated. And I always took a liking to guys that had a story to tell in addition to their talent. And we just were able to lock in with some key guys coming from some key JUCO programs. I think I spent time at the JA45 in Florida every summer. It started when I was an assistant at Florida State, but we wanted to lock in on certain guys with certain characteristics, but also guys with a story to tell. But the jersey that they put on in Cleveland State University meant something to them because they had been undervalued, they had been under-recruited, and they had something to prove and still do. And that's what we kind of endured last year. And most importantly, when I took over the job, I wanted to re-recruit the guys that were in the transfer portal. I think at the time we had 3 guys on our roster all together, and I was able to re-recruit the guys that chose Cleveland State as a destination anyway to begin with. And they recommitted and obviously began to lock arms with us, and we started building a culture. And last but not least, I didn't do anything basketball wise. I wanted to focus on team building. So we brought in a sports psychologist, Dr. Joe Carr, and he was the first team building thing that we did. We did nothing basketball related.
Yeah, I've seen Dr. Carr up close and personal. He worked with you guys at Florida State.
Yep.
He worked with us when I was at Fresno State with Coach Terry. He's elite at what he does.
But I'll tell you this. He worked with me in 2000, 2001, 2002 when I was an undergraduate player at Cal. And
wow,
I told him at the age of 19, 20, 21, I said, when I become a head coach, I want you to work with my team. Here we are 20 years later. You know, he dropped whatever he had. He remembered that conversation and came on down.
So I'm so glad you touched on that, Coach, because when I was at IUPUI last year, for those that are listening, we competed against Coach, and I'll never forget it. There's those moments as an assistant, you have certain responsibilities. You have to check the score. You have to see the subs who's in. And I'm looking at their huddle, and I'm like, this guy's got a different plan about how he's doing. Everything you did was meticulous. Everything was detailed. So you talked about when you were 19, you told Coach Dr. Carr that he was going to speak to your team. You've always had this vision and this projection and this speak it to existence. And you told me after the game, I'll never forget it. I asked you a couple questions. You're like, man, B, I've been planning for this moment for 19 years. I think you told me. So talk about that process. And are you at the point you thought you would be at this point? You got to be a little bit ahead, Coach. You guys are rocking and rolling in first place in the horizon. I don't know if even you could have thought and spoke that into existence, right?
Well, yeah, man, that's a great question. I think when we look at coaches and educators in our lives, I had some great coaches and great educators who put me in a headlock or gave me a hug. They put their arms around me, but they either did it in a headlock or did it in a loving way with a hug. But most importantly, they taught me how to dream. They told me, I'll never forget it. They told me that, I'm a great leader. And in fact, that's one of the questions that I led with during my recruiting visits and recruiting conversations when it was time for me to choose a college. I asked coaches, do you have rules against freshmen becoming captains? And, I saw this vision of myself pouring back into young people's lives. I didn't know if it was going to be at the high school, junior college. I didn't know if it was going to be Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA. I just knew that I wanted to give back the same way these men was given to me, the same way these educators were given to me. Growing up in inner city Chicago is not easy, but the glimpse of hope is given through mentorship, through the community leaders, the teachers and coaches pouring into your life. And they poured into my life, man. They poured into my life more than they even poured into their own. And that was infectious for me. I felt accountability for their time spent, that I had to produce something. I had to make sure that seed was nurtured in different ways and make them proud. And even to this day, I remain connected with all those people, and they continue to guide me in more ways than one. And I'm very appreciative of that. And moving forward, B, I just think the big picture as coaches, we have a responsibility that goes beyond just basketball. We have a responsibility that allows you to build the life of a young man or young lady, depending on which side you coach. And it's a mentorship that comes with different responsibilities and different businesses within a business. You're their psychologist, you're their psychiatrist, you're their mentor, you're their counselor, you're all of the above, right? And it's not just limited to just wins and losses. I think the ultimate win for me is when I get invited to a wedding, when I get invited to help them make a decision that's life-changing. I get a call at 2 a.m. in the morning, and I can help them navigate through the next phase of their life when that ball stops bouncing. And that's what I enjoy most.
Yeah, you're the best, Coach. You're the best. I appreciate it. I'm going to let Eli talk some basketball with you because I can talk all day. So I'm going to get out the way and give him the ISO.
Yeah, I mean, before I hop into some of the basketball topics, the visionary mindset, the kind of camaraderie that you have, do you get the sense that establishing kind of an off-court relationship then leads its way to on-court success for your program?
Yeah, like Brian spoke of, I've been building my program since I was 18, 19 years old in different notebooks, and each year I've assessed it and rebuilt it and recalibrated and changed some things and adapted new things. The core values that we build our program on now is friendship. Friendship is a strong thing, and it's not something that you're born with. It's something that you got to maintain and nurture every day to get the results that it's meant for. Love is the second one. Being able to love on these young people, authentically, not just because of what they think or what I think they can do between the lines. It's important to pour love back into them so they can get the correct definition of it, because we all come from different walks of life and different stories. Accountability, obviously, that's important. Trust is important. That's another core value. But discipline, unselfishness, enthusiasm, and toughness. Those are the core values that we've built our program on. And more importantly, man, it's how we define those things. And each kid has an opportunity to uniquely define what that means to them, but also bridge the gap on what it means to us as a program, we as a team, not just the individual. So it goes beyond that. And obviously trying to build championships in the classroom, on the court, and in the community. It's important that we pour into the lives, but also identify the young men who have the carrying capacity to expand, and you can continue to pour overflowing information or love or affection, whatever it is, of talent, and add to it without spilling. And that carrying capacity has to have some elastic in it. And when you don't have the elasticity, you have trouble, you have fight, you have sort of the, rigid edges of things not coming to fruition. So being able to connect with these dudes are important, but making sure you have the right staff to do those things as well is more important than any. As we look at our profession across the country, there's no great team without a great staff. I'm just being honest. And my goal in 10 years from now, I want people to look at our staff picture and say, wow, they were on the same staff. Those head coaches were on the same staff. That's my dream.
I love it. Coach, where do I sign? I don't know. I don't have much. I forgot where do I sign.
Hey, I'll tell you what, man. It's exciting.
You can definitely tell, and again, I saw it firsthand, but you can tell how you're able to connect with those guys. I think, Coach, and I won't make you answer this, I think you even practice your stance on the sideline and how you handle situations. Like, I'm watching this dude, he's not even getting rattled. I'm like, how are you not getting rattled? Like, it's a close game, and then you're just so cool, and the referee, and then every now and then you get intense, and it's like, yo, and then the players responded. Amazing job that you're doing, Coach. I just salute it all the way around. I can tell you put a lot of thought into it. I want to ask you, so you talked a lot about life after, right? And it's Black History Month, and you, I guess it's twofold. Leonard Hamilton passing the torch, like you talked about in that picture. People are going to look at Leonard Hamilton's teams that you were a part of and say, oh, that guy's a coach. He's here now. That guy's a head coach. You work with some other great guys. But John McClendon is a really big name. Most people don't know why. He's starting to be celebrated this year, probably more than ever, right? Different teams have the T-shirts, but he was the first Black coach at a predominantly white institution at Cleveland State.
That's right.
And do you feel another sense of responsibility with coaching at that particular school? And then what is it like, Coach, coaching during these times? Let's just call it what it is, as a Black head coach during these times where the numbers are skewed as we know they are. The climate is what it is. A lot of people are looking to the next generation of who are going to be the next. We just had John Thompson pass, unfortunately. We just had John Chaney. We're giving tribute to Coach Lou Hill today on the show. So just being in those shoes with all those things around it, what does that mean to you? And I know I threw a lot at you.
But you threw a lot, B. You threw a lot, and that's okay. We're going to break it down. All right?
Please. That's what you do.
John McClendon first.
Yes.
Being mentored by George Raveling and Leonard Hamilton, I already knew who John McClendon was prior to taking this job. I knew his accomplishments at every stop along the way. I knew his accomplishments with the secret game, which everyone is really, really proud about. And, you know, there's a big campaign for it going on now. But I also knew his stops at Tennessee State. I knew his stops at Kentucky State. I knew his stops with the Cleveland Pipers, as he was the first Black professional basketball coach. I also knew his stop at Cleveland State. So when I first got the phone call, that is what popped into my head, not a record or the state of the program, but man, I get to possibly coach at a place where John McClendon walked the sidelines. Hey, for me, that means a lot because my mentors taught me how important he was to their lives, how important John McClendon was to the John Thompsons, John Cheneys, Nolan Richardsons, and George Ravelins, how important he was to Leonard Hamilton, and even connecting him to the Final Four, you know, what he would do for the Black coaches in terms of educating and also influencing and giving them proper guidance. Now, Cleveland State, imagine this, 1966, giving the first Black man a job in Division I NCAA basketball. That happened at Cleveland State. So the shoulders that we all stand on, you stand on John McClendon. And beyond just being a Black coach, he was a USA basketball ambassador. He's connected to James Naismith as a young student. So for me, knowing that he has influenced the game the way he has, he's a 3-time Hall of Famer. He has one of his teams in the Hall of Fame. He has been inducted as a coach and a contributor. That is saying a lot about a person. And ultimately, Tom has an interesting way of putting things, people, and events in its rightful places. And John McClendon is getting put in his rightful place as it relates to not what he's done at North Carolina Central, not what he's done at Tennessee State, but what he has done as a man, a Black man, a Black coach, being given an opportunity at a predominantly white institution here at Cleveland State University. It says a lot about the time. It says a lot about the presidents of that university, of our university at that time in 1966, but also the courage that is embedded in not only our institution, the Horizon League, and it goes beyond that, man. And I'm proud to be in the same fabric. I'm glad to put on the same, represent the same university that he has represented it. And each year, I make it a point since I got here, I visited his gravesite. That was the first thing I've done. And then the second thing I did was put up something in our office that commemorates John McClendon beyond. As soon as someone walks into our office, they know John McClendon coach here. And that's my mission. That's my job. That's my responsibility to make sure his legacy doesn't get forgotten.
I love it. I love it. That's
now, the other question, B, you had another question loaded in there now.
Yeah. So just, the responsibility, the torch is kind of being passed slowly. Yeah. John Thompson, John Cheneys gone. Leonard Hamilton, obviously, who you work for, is elite of the elite, but he's toward the latter years of landing his plane in his career. So there's a new torch and a new wave. What is that responsibility like for yourself? And I actually bring in. We'll go ahead and make this. We'll go ahead and make this fun. We're gonna add special guest number 2. Hold on. Let's get the special.
Who you got ready on there, man?
We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this right, man. So we got Coach B from Oklahoma State. We're gonna have him jump in on the studio with us.
Oh, awesome.
And we'll ask the question to both of you. What's up, Mike? How you doing, man?
What's up, Bert?
Coach.
What's up, D Gates?
What's up, Mike? How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother.
Good to have you on, man. Appreciate it, Coach. So we're talking about the passing of the torch. We have some legends of our game that have unfortunately passed away, and we have these 2 young, intelligent, sharp, amazing coaches and leaders of men on this particular show today. So what is it like, Coach, just knowing that there's a new wave that we need to have carry this torch, and what is that responsibility like? We're kind of talking about Black History Month. Coach just talked about John McClendon, so I'll let Coach Mike B kind of lead into this one. Just kind of, obviously social justice is going on. It's a different time, but you guys are the next generation of coaches. So what is that responsibility like for you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. I'm not sure I can really quantify the level of responsibility that I feel, and I don't speak for D Gates, but we got a pretty good relationship. I think he feels the same way. That there's some people from the civil rights era in many ways, Coach Chaney, Coach Thompson, Coach Richardson, the guys that grew up in that era that really, really made an imprint on our game and did it in a way that they didn't compromise their individual responsibilities away from the court just to win games, but they sure as hell won a lot. And I feel like it's our obligation now, right, to do the same thing and to not do it in a selfishly motivated way where we're just trying to win or we're trying to self-preserve, if you will, by trying to make more money or whatever it may be. But knowing that, just like those guys did for us, when Coach Ravlin and Coach Chaney and Coach Thompson were making those sacrifices, they didn't know that there was a Dennis Gates and a Mike Boynton 25, 30 years down the line that would be in those opportunities. So we have the same responsibility because we don't know who the next generation is. We got to set a great example. We got to do it with integrity. And we got to make sure that at the same time we're having success on the court. Because if you're not winning, a whole lot of the other stuff can kind of get lost in the shuffle.
Well said. Well said. Coach Gates?
Man, this is a loaded question and statement, but I would say this: there are many people, in addition to the giants of George Ravlin, John Chaney, John Thompson, and Nolan Richardson, who planted a seed, right, and watched and made sure a tree grew so that we can enjoy the shade. And sometimes we have to be sort of courageous. We have to be tough enough to endure, to walk beyond the shade into the sun and plant another seed.
Right.
I don't know who else I'm impacting, but I'm doing it every day for someone to plant another seed, but also so they can enjoy the shade. Right. And these mentors in our lives, even our peers, it goes beyond just Black coaches. I think one of the biggest, Dean Smith, he backed John Thompson in that protest and said he too would protest if something wasn't changed. So it goes beyond just Black coaches. It takes all of us, Black, white, brown, it takes all of us. And it's important that we make the changes we make, because this summer we saw our lives pause, but we also were able to see our minds turn, our hearts open, and our eyes watch and our ears listen,
right? Because
the world was on pause. And it's very key that these young people, this generation, has something that a lot of generations have not had, and that's social media and the travel speed of information. And this is what the civil rights era may have lacked. Right. So it can make the move that it could have made, or make the dent in correcting the fabric of our country that has been, looked upon as bad, because we're not proud of how this country was built, but we're far from where we were, but we still have some steps to take. And it's important that this generation understands that as we talk about their relationship with their phone and their social media accounts. It's the same tool that has allowed things to be galvanized a lot quicker. And we have to show them how to properly use it. But I'm proud of what we're doing. I'm proud of the coaches, the relationships, across different cultures. But I'm also proud about John McClendon's scholarship that has been implemented. I'm proud of the involvement of coaches collectively, not just Black coaches, but coaches collectively being involved in it, but also the systemic barriers that are slowly but surely being broken day by day.
So we're going to do a quick remix. Eli and I are going to jump out of the studio. We want to do this. We don't get to have these moments like this. So Coach Mike B, you get one question to Dennis Gates. Dennis Gates, you get one question to Mike B. And we're going to step out of the studio and give you guys the lane and just watch.
Who's going first?
Whoever you want.
You got it first, Mike.
I got to ask you one first?
Of course.
Right. obviously D Gates and I have gotten a chance to know each other over this pandemic more than ever before, but our paths are in some ways very similar. So my question to you is, if you were starting this journey over again, right, back when you were a freshman in college, because I think, as far as I understand, that's when you really started to have your mindset on wanting to be a head coach.
Yeah.
What kind of things does Dennis Gates know now that he would advise that freshman in college at Cal on ways to navigate this business, or things to avoid, or maybe things to try to pursue a little bit more aggressively?
That's important, Mike. That's a great question, man. I think what I would do differently is this. I would try to use up my own resources and my own, not just, financial resources, but my own time that I spent during certain things, building the relationships, having the conversations. And I think back to that time, I wish I would have had more conversations with Pete Newell. I wish I would have had more conversations with John Wooden, who was alive during that time. He would sit when we played at UCLA. I wish I just would have just sat there and had more conversations with a lot of key pieces. John Chaney. I wish I would have had more conversations with him and Jimmy Collins and different guys that have built our industry, and just pause. I wish I would have just paused a little bit, no different than this quarantine made us pause, and reshuffle the deck of understanding what was important in helping me, and the information I could have really gotten at could have saved some time because they had some wisdom, could have saved some time and really continue to add to what I thought I was building and perfecting it, and allowing them and having the courage to let them know what my dream was, because I had this secret dream that I know I was building, but I didn't really know how to put it on someone else's shoulders until I really met later in life George Raveling and Leonard Hamilton. I was really secretive about it and not really outspoken. I think at that time, you care what your peers and friends think, and you try to blend in. I just wish I would have been more intentional than I was. I looked at myself as pretty intentional, but I wish I was more intentional than I was with my relationships with those older and elder statesmen in our game.
Now, you alluded to it, and I don't want to take two questions here, but it's just kind of, you said something about maybe the pride, too much pride.
Right.
Do you also think maybe a little bit of intimidation? Like, this is Coach Wooden, like, he don't really talk to me,
Yeah, it's definitely intimidation, but we are even more prideful to be that transparent that I'm intimidated by another man. We're taught to compete, but we're rather just not nerd up and be cool and act like that person's not important, or get to that level and say, look, man, I respect you. And, being intimidated, I think, is a part of being prideful. And I was too prideful to lock arms and really ask people for help.
Right.
I didn't even share it with my college coach, but asking people for help is something that I really look back on and wish I would have done it a little differently, because it was a lot of minds out there that, we're not fortunate enough to have in full conversation now, because they have left us with just their legacy and what they've done from afar. So no, I appreciate that, Mike. I appreciate that. I got one for you, Mike, because I know, like you said, we have challenges in our industry. We have challenges in this business every day. But we also look at it as a different responsibility to go beyond just basketball with these young men. Who are the people in your life that influenced you, but most importantly, made you responsible in looking beyond just basketball and mentoring and building the young man that you're building today?
Yeah, when people ask me about kind of my mentors or people who've had the most influence on me, it always starts with my pops.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate, man. I grew up in New York City at a time, between the 80s and mid 90s, where the drug epidemic was real and violence was a real thing. And then the rap culture took over, and Biggie Smalls and Jay-Z in their early years, that's all they thought about was trying to escape. But I was kind of protected from that because my dad saw something in me, not necessarily athletically, but from just a character standpoint, that he knew I could be a little bit more. And if he hadn't, like you said, planted the seed in my mind that I could go to college, I'm not sure I would have ever considered it, because my dad didn't go to college, and neither did my mom. So I didn't have an example. I wasn't sitting around the dinner table talking about the college experience, right? We was talking about surviving, graduating from high school, getting a job. And because of them, they opened my eyes, even though they didn't have the benefit of the experience, but they knew other people who had. My dad worked on Wall Street and saw that people who had degrees were making way more money than he was.
Right.
And they wasn't doing more work, And then my mom was really, really big on education. She was the 10th of 10 kids. And I think she always saw that was kind of a hindrance to her and her siblings, is the educational barriers that they weren't able to break through. It starts with them always. But once I get into the sports world, all the coaches that I played for, from Kenny Pretlow when I was 8 years old, all the way through college, when I had two really good coaches, and Dave Odom and Eddie Fogler, who recruited me, those guys were tremendous in terms of being honest with me. I think it's the one thing that, as a coach, as a college head coach now, especially at the Power 5 level, I feel the most disconnected with, are these people really being honest with me?
Right.
Are people telling me the truth, or are they just trying to be accepted in this circle that I have? And I want truth tellers, man. I want people to tell me things that I don't like because they're best for me.
Right.
And Coach Ravlin was like that with me. Coach Fogler was like that with me. My parents were like that with me. And they set an unbelievable tone for what I try to do now for these young men, is be a truth teller. They don't have to like everything I tell them, but they don't ever have to question the motivation.
Right.
They know that deep down, it's really about caring for them as people, trying to put them in position to have success outside of this game. I tell them all the time, most of the time when they've gotten to me, they've played more basketball than they're going to play. And they don't have any idea. Like, most of them started at 5, 6, 7 years old, and they're 19 by the time they get here.
No question.
They played for 12, 13 years. Like, they're not playing for 12 or 13 more years.
Not at all.
So we need to start transitioning our minds to figuring out how we can use this game, this beautiful game we all love, have great passion for, to elevate what we can do with our lives, how we can be better people, how we can create different avenues of success that don't have anything to do with bouncing the basketball.
Right. Yeah, that's important. B, I see you pop back in. I mean, we
we got to unfortunately keep the show moving, man. We wanted to give Coach G, man. Appreciate you.
I'll be honest, B. I didn't know D Gates was going to be on. I didn't know if he knew I was going to be on.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Surprise! This is a surprise.
Frequently, I won't give away all the secrets, and these conversations can go for a while, man.
Yeah.
No doubt. Two of the best, man. We had to do it. Coach Gates, we gotta keep it moving and get the next train going. But so grateful for you to come on. This won't be the last time, hopefully.
No, definitely, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me. Mike B, stay up, man. Stay
good luck this weekend, brother.
Same to you. Good luck.
Right. Keep up the great work, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach, man. So would like to bring in another special friend, another Oklahoma. What do you call it? Oklahomian? Is that how you say it? Oklahoman. Okay, another Oklahoman. Coach Paul Mills in the building, and just want to give a second to talk about Lou Hill. Obviously, we can talk basketball all day, but I want to bring him in if that's okay with you, and talk about Coach Hill. Coach Mills, welcome to the show, man.
B, good to see you. Mike, good to see you, man. I just saw you on TV last night, so you are moving, my man.
You've been in the Big 12. You know how this deal goes.
I'm gonna kind of get out the way and do the same thing, but just let you guys take a minute to talk about Coach Hill. And we got TJ's ready too, so we got a whole party today, man. We're doing a special Lou Hill party and talking basketball too. But Coach Johnson, how you doing, man? Can you unmute it?
to work this thing, man.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys joining, man. I wanted to just do something special. Obviously, COVID times makes it a little different, and we could talk basketball all day. But what a great man Coach Hill was, and just want to take a second to let everybody kind of just go around and talk about him.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just say hello to Mike and Coach Mills. How you guys doing, man? It's good
What's up,
to see you.
DJ?
Good to see you, brother, man. You're doing a heck of a job down there, man. Keep it rolling.
Incredible.
I
Incredible.
appreciate it,
Keep
man.
it going, man.
People don't realize how hard it is when you take over a program with really like when you expect to take over and when you think you're prepared to take over. But what you're doing, man, kind of on the fly, is truly remarkable, man. I think it should be talked about more in the media and nationally. You're doing a hell of a job over there.
Man, I appreciate both of you guys being available. Paul, you and I have talked a number of times throughout my tenure here, and you always pick up the phone when I call, so I appreciate that. And Mike, you already know you like my secret weapon, man. So I dig into you. So I really appreciate you guys for sure.
Yeah, since we're gonna talk about Lou here, I don't know what you guys' personal relationship with him. But Coach Hill actually is from New York, just like I am. And I didn't know him, obviously, growing up. He's a little bit older than I am, but he had a reputation that preceded him. And then our connection actually starts there, but it goes beyond. So he played at Wichita State for Coach Eddie Fogler, who I also played for, but I played for South Carolina. And Coach Fogler does a really good job of connecting his former players with one another, no matter where they've played for him at. Especially if they get into coaching, because we obviously know we can always lean on each other through different things. And Lou was just always a great dude, just always happy, always positive. In fact, and you guys know this, man, when you get to a school like this, you get to choose some of your non-conference games. Lou was just early in his tenure at UT Rio Grande Valley, and he was looking for a game to play early in the year. And we had him coming here, and I was so honored to coach against him, man, because I knew he was building something special. And unfortunately perished too early. But I know that his impact on that community and his family is going to be long lasting, and certainly prayers and thoughts to them as they go through this tough couple of weeks and months ahead.
Yeah, I think, one, you guys know this, basketball is a very tight-knit community. When we're on the road and you're just bumping in shoulders, we understand what this job does to ourselves. We understand what this job does to our families. We kind of have an idea about, what you're competing against day in and day out. And so when you're constantly in the same gym, especially if you're from the South, and you just see you guys so much. And Lou, 20 years ago, when he was at Texas A&M, I was a high school coach. And, when you're a high school coach, you kind of look up to those guys and look at the college guys, and you never know how they're going to respond to you. And so a warm smile and a gentle handshake and just an arm around the shoulder, it goes a long way. And for Lou to have that, and I was at Baylor for 14 years, and when he was in Oklahoma, you're kind of chasing the same kids. And you're still cordial, right? You're still, you kind of understand the profession and what we're getting into, but at the same time, you recognize that these are men with husbands and with families. And I mean, I've had some wonderful conversations with a number of Big 12 assistants during my tenure as one, and you just kind of talk about priorities, right? Jesus tells his disciples, what would it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet lose your soul? And so you kind of walk through this and say, man, we can get caught up in this rat race and forget that they're necessarily people and think that they're a logo. And what I always appreciated about Lou is he always looked at everybody as a person. Never did he glance at my logo and say, oh, okay, I can't talk to you. And I think anytime somebody values people, you have an affinity for that if you do the same. And so his impact on people, to know that he coached a game, and then just to wake up, you realize how temporary and fragile life is. And what it does is kind of put in your brain the need to love others and not look at a logo, but look at people for who they are. And I'm so thankful for Lou just putting his arm around a young high school coach 22 years ago and then to watch him grow in this profession, and praying for him and his family during this time.
Yeah, indeed. You know, Coach Mills, I'll probably have to piggyback off of that. You know, I didn't have the pleasure of knowing Coach Hill very, very long. Met him when he was at Oklahoma, and when I was coaching Texas Pro. And, you know, he was always the same every day. And I think that, you know, when change is inevitable, to be the same every day, it means something. It takes effort. We ask our guys, like, who are we? You know, and I think that you have to constantly prove that, because one day when you're not yourself, you can find yourself in a position that you would never have thought you would ever be in. And Coach Hill was the same before the game, during the game, and after the game. Whenever he would see me, whenever we played each other, maybe 2 or 3 times throughout his tenure at UT RGV, as well as mine here. And he was always the same. He would always say, young fella, you know, how you doing? You know, don't take this game too serious. It's only basketball. You know, it just seems like he always had it figured out. You know, demanded the most of his kids. And whenever he saw me, he would always offer some words of advice, mainly just to, you know, not get so caught up in the rat race of it. You know, it's only basketball. We're not curing cancer, and, you know, enjoy it. But most of all, I think he was a truth teller. I really do. You know, I think he didn't mince words. You know, he said what he meant, and he meant what he said. And he was a man's man. And for that, I respect him. And I'm glad that God saw fit for us to cross paths. And I pray that his family finds comfort in knowing that he impacted so many lives, and that he's going to be talked about for a very long time.
Yeah, I know Wade Mason, an assistant at SFA. He was at ORU prior to going to SFA, but I saw Wade's tweet to where he said he had talked to him earlier, and just how much he was supporting Isaac Brown at Wichita State, how much he was supporting you, and you and I, we understand all the back channels and things that get done where hey, I kind of covet this position or that position, and to know that a man would be that supportive publicly and privately as well, it's a tribute, and it speaks volumes about who he is and who he was, and praying for that family in that situation.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about the bad apples in our profession. Well, I would say that there's a lot more good people in this profession than there are bad apples. And if you're in it, you know where the good ones are. You know that most of these guys are really doing it for the right reasons. They want to see kids have success. They want to challenge guys to see more for themselves. A lot of these kids come from tough backgrounds. We want to help them elevate to another status so that they can break barriers for their families for generations to come. And nobody did it better and more genuinely than Lou did. He came from a tough area in Mount Vernon, New York, and he reached back into that same community and brought a kid named Isaiah Cousins, who nobody had heard of and nobody knew, and took him to the University of Oklahoma. I'm sure where that kid had never had any idea where it was, and changed his life. The kid's a legend in Norman, Oklahoma. He's from Mount Vernon, New York, and he can go back and still be a legend in Mount Vernon. And when he's in Norman, he's celebrated, and partly because of a relationship and the belief and the ability to push that kid that Lou did. And I'm sure this is a tough time for Isaiah and his family because of the impact that Lou Hill had on him. But that's just one example. And Lou was as good as it got in terms of being able to, separate, like you guys said, the game from life. The two aren't the same. And you can be competitive and you can want to win every game and still not lose the character you have while doing that. And you can shake a man's hand and look him in the eye and tell him he did a good job, even after he beat you, because you gave everything you had the right way. And you can do the same for kids. You can challenge them and hold them accountable and know that they're not necessarily going to like everything you tell them, but they're going to know that you're telling them the truth and that you're doing what's right for them, and their families will appreciate it even more.
Yeah, how cool for Lou to take a kid from Mount Vernon and let him experience a Final Four.
How about that?
That's awesome.
Only God, right?
Yeah, I wanted to, in honor of Coach Hill, I wanted to do something cool with you guys, if you don't mind, and just each person just say something, speak life into the other two people, right? Something that you've seen, something you've observed about them. Let's give the flowers while we're still here, because with this stuff going on right now, we don't know. So I think something to pay tribute to him would be the action that he would do. So I wanted to initiate that, if that's okay with you guys, and just let's just spread some love, because I think the other part is we compete, but this is just a game, like he always said. And so I know how much each one of you guys respect each other. I have tremendous respect for all of you, and you've all imprinted me in a different way. And so I just wanted to have you guys on to kind of do it that way, if that's okay with you. So whoever wants to lead it can lead the way, and that would be great.
Well, let me jump in here. I think that Mike and TJ kind of both inherited difficult situations. Both of them were, for what TJ was thrown on his plate at such a late date, and for his ability to manage it. And everybody's aware of what Mike inherited and is still going through. It's such a tribute. And I can't tell you, one of my dear friends in the profession is Jerome Tang, who's an assistant. I've known him for more than 2 decades. And as a white coach, he would always say, Paul, listen, if you get fired, you will probably get another opportunity. And he says, you need to understand, as he goes through it, would tell me of black coaches who do not get a second chance. And he said, it's important that if you ever take a job as a black coach, that you be given every resource necessary in order to succeed. And so I look at Mike and I look at TJ and go, he didn't follow Jerome's formula. Those guys are given tough situations. And both of you have handled it remarkably. I cheer for coaches like you guys who handle these tough situations, because I think there's more admiration there because you realize that at the end of the day, as I always share with our guys, you have to win within, right? Winning starts on the inside. And before it can ever showcase itself, and you guys have done that, and in difficult situations, and cheer like crazy for you guys. We all are in our own programs. We all probably look at ESPN somewhere around 1-2 o'clock in the morning after our games are done, and just scroll through scores. And there's people who you're mindful of. And I took great solace in the fact that Mike's now got a top 25 program, because that means we played 3 of them of our 5 non-conference games. And TJ's sitting over there in first place in the Sun Belt. So it's a tribute to both of you guys, and cheering like crazy for you here in Tulsa.
I appreciate it. I'll go next. And obviously, I coached against you when you were an assistant at Baylor, Paul, when I was in South Carolina with Darren. And I remember you guys did a heck of a job. A lot of talk is about what Scott Drew has done, and credit goes to him. He's the leader there, no question. But as we all know, if you don't have a great staff, this is a really, really hard deal. And obviously he's had some remarkable assistants, and all the time you spent there and all the success that you helped have that in that program is remarkable. And what you've done at Oral Roberts, that's a challenging job. A lot of people don't recognize how difficult. All jobs aren't created equal. The resources aren't the same, and the challenges are certainly great everywhere, but they're more great in other places. And what you've done there, and I've had the honor to coach against your teams. You guys are always well prepared, and I feel honored every time I get to coach against you. I wish you would make as many threes as you do when you play against us, but maybe that's just me. You got to coach a little bit better 3-point defense. And Tony, TJ, I told you earlier, man, like I've watched you come up through the Texas Pro deal. I was an assistant at Stephen F. Austin when we first met, and saw you lead that program and a really talented team on that level, and just liked your demeanor, your approach to things. You didn't have a problem challenging kids, but also loving on them. And it's obvious to me when you got this opportunity that those kids were going to buy into you. And obviously they had been through a tough situation, and it was easy for them to bail, but they believed in you. And I hope that administration can see that, because you deserve an opportunity to continue in that program. You've shown that you're capable and willing and able to do the job. And I'm cheering for your success, brother. I know it's not easy. I've been at that level where both of you guys are. And sometimes you get lost in the shuffle because no one's really paying attention. But trust me, I'm watching both of you guys, and I know you're going to continue to do great things.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate both of you guys. And I guess what I would say is, man, I probably have watched you guys as much or more than you guys have watched me. Certainly, Paul being over at Baylor, been watching that program for a while. They recruit my home state pretty good with Tweety Carter and Rico Gather. So, I'm always paying attention to what Baylor has going on. But I'll start with you, Paul. Man, I'm real big on identity. I am what I am because I was raised to be this way. And I just appreciate all the experiences that have shaped me and molded me. And for someone never to switch up, I think what I appreciate most about you, Paul, is the fact that you don't apologize for your faith. And whenever you tap me on my leg when we sit next to each other, you'll tap me on my leg when you're about to go to your next game. And you say, if you say, I'm praying for your brother, I believe that because everything that I see about you, everything that I know about you is like, it's no fake with it. So I just appreciate you being able to be yourself every single day and not apologizing for your faith, because I think sometimes we lose sight of who we're raised to be. And we think that there's no place for that in this game. And I appreciate that about you. And you've always been that way. And I try to emulate that in my program to have a faith-based program. So I really do appreciate you being the same every day. And on the same token, Mike, I've told you this, you never switched up. I mean, you still walking in and talking the same way you did when you were an assistant, no matter what level, no matter how much success, no matter how many interviews, and you treat the people the same. And I think that a lot of times when guys start moving up a ladder or a mountain, they become even harder to access. And that's not at all true with you. And you're always dropping the nugget. You talk the same way that you did when you were at Stephen F. Austin, never talking at a person, always talking to a person. Phenomenal listener. You always offer advice rather than give advice, which I appreciate. And Jen, you always encouraging, man. You find the best thing about every situation. And so I just appreciate you guys. And sometimes I don't tell you enough, but certainly, man, every little bit helps, especially with a person like me, going through the things that I've been through, and just knowing that I can call you guys for anything. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, people don't know TJ turned down Power 5 jobs because of his family, because he wanted to make sure that his mom and everybody was in a good situation and thought through this. So for him to have this opportunity and for him to succeed like he is very cool.
Yeah, I know I didn't prepare any of you guys for this, and I'm just throwing you on the spot, but that's what you guys do. You guys are adjustment guys at halftime, before the game, whatever it may be. So
if you're waiting for halftime to make adjustments, you're way too late.
Good point.
Absolutely.
Good point. Spoken from somebody who hadn't said in that seat, so excuse me. But the last thing I would just say is just one thing I've noticed so much with this time is just how big encouragement is. So obviously we're speaking life, and if you could just give one nugget, one word of wisdom during this crazy year to the other two coaches, and then guys that need to leave can leave. I don't want to keep you too long, but I appreciate so much you guys taking the time to do this, because I think this is something that is very honoring of Coach Hill. So thanks so much again.
I can go first on this one. My thing here, and I think we've been forced to do this over the last year now, is slow down, enjoy, right? And not enjoy the moment, like enjoy right now, enjoy today, enjoy your family. Because obviously we're giving tribute to a dude who a week ago today, we had no idea we'd be talking about in this way. And I think one of the worst things you can have is regret and not cherishing the opportunities that are in front of you. We sometimes try to look ahead, or we worry about what happened last night so much that we miss the things that are right in front of us. The kids on our team, our staff and their families, our own children. I got an 8 and a 5-year-old at home who are homeschooling, and it drives me crazy because I want them in school. They want to be in school. I get it though. And so instead of looking at it as a negative, I've never had the opportunity in 17 years of college coaching to spend this much time with my wife and kids. And so I've tried to change my mentality that at some point this time won't be available to me and I won't be able to get it back. And it's the thing I stress to my team, like we can't get yesterday back. So while we're in the moment, enjoy it, slow down, settle in, and try to enjoy as much as you can while you're going through it.
Thank you, Coach.
Go ahead, TJ.
Well, I would say this, man. I think for me, it was important for me to understand something that I'm just learning. No matter what it is in which we've accomplished throughout the course of our career, because sometimes, I can look at where I am and people look at where I am and think that, that I'm doing something or I'm, or this is progress or this is success. And through it all, I have to remain humble. And I think I have to understand that and for us as well, this is something that maybe if it's not for you, Paul, or not for you, Mike, maybe you can give it to somebody. I listened to T.D. Jake's sermon not long ago, and he said that just remember we are David. We're not Goliath. We are preparing for Goliath. And everything in which we are preparing for, everything in which we're going through it through the eyes and through the ears and through the story of David. So I just encourage my guys to just be present. Like Mike said, tomorrow is past. Yesterday is past and tomorrow is too far away. I believe that your focus is where you are. And I try to get my guys to heighten their awareness. So if I could leave you guys with anything, man, I just would say, like, just be appreciative and be humble, and embrace all things that are difficult. I think when you embrace all things that are difficult, the impossible becomes possible. Paul, you're right. I did decide to stay here. And one of the reasons, because I knew that if I worked for this particular coach, it was difficult. And if I could do that, I could probably do a lot of different things. But if I ran from that, the first opportunity, I didn't know how tough I could be. I didn't know how successful I could be. I didn't know what I could overcome. So, man, there's certainly a blessing in a lesson. And if there are lessons to be learned, then there are lessons to be taught. So if I could leave you guys with anything, and not sure that I could, but that's what I would leave you with.
Yeah, I would say, just in regards to this profession and just to other coaches, I was blessed to Dr. Tony Evans is the pastor of Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship down in Oak Cliff in Dallas. And when I was at Baylor, he was our chaplain. And so we would do chapels every game day, and he would come around. And he was incredible. And I just said, hey, man, where did you learn this stuff? And he told me, he told me he went to Dallas Theological Seminary. And I enrolled while I was at Baylor because the questions that I would get after practice wasn't, hey, what's our side pick and roll coverage again? Or how do I shoot a free throw better? It was, hey, coach, my dad hit my mom last night. I'm going to see him later today. What should I tell him? And I didn't want to put these kids in bad situations and pass along things that would put them in harm's way. And so I enrolled at Dallas Theological, and mainly so that I could get better as a leader. And I would just tell you that the better you get, the better you get as a leader, the better those around you will get. Because when the leader improves, everybody improves. And I would encourage you to make your players leaders. And as they become leaders, the whole group improves. and invest in your players as leaders, as Dr. Evans has done in many people. And I think that's where the true joy comes from coaching, is to watching your players lead. And you know what? How does that happen? You have to invest in yourself. And in a profession where we just, hey, what are others? I mean, I go back to, I don't mean to get too biblical here, but I go back to the two greatest commandments, and love God was number one, but then love your neighbor as yourself. And I can't love my neighbor if I'm not loving myself. I can't invest in anybody else if I'm not investing in me. And I have a responsibility to invest in me, to do the right things by me, so that I can in turn invest in other people. I have a responsibility to lead the right way so that I can lead others. And so I would just really, really encourage people to grow as a leader and empower your players to lead, because that's where your joy will come from as you watch them lead, whether it be on a basketball court or in the future as husbands and dads.
It's powerful.
Amen.
Great stuff. We got another guest that we're gonna bring in real quick. One of Coach Hill's former staff members that is now down there in the Valley, just kind of giving us an update. So Coach Caleb Villarreal is in the studio. Coach, how you doing?
Good. How about you guys?
Good. Assistant at Prairie View. For those that don't know Caleb, I know Caleb wanted to speak and say some words on Coach Hill. And coaches, if anybody needs to leave, definitely feel free. I don't want to keep you longer than what I have obligated to do so. But I wanted to give Caleb the floor to kind of talk about some of the things going on that way and give us all an update.
Yeah, I appreciate you for having me on. Obviously, before I wanted to ask Mrs. Hill if it was okay for me to come on. Obviously, I'm not on staff here anymore, but I was his first ops guy. Worked for Coach for 4 years, and everything's just kind of just still a shock for us and those who work for him. But she's doing well. She's a strong woman. Kids are doing well. I know his older daughters are coming in today and trying to get all the funeral arrangements and things like that done today. So, I came down, obviously, just try to take as much stuff off her plate as possible. I know the assistants currently on staff, they, obviously got to take care of the players and things like that. And Coach, my current boss, Coach Smith, was obviously, very, very supportive of me coming down here, just try to help as much as I can. But just, really, they really appreciate the support. I was just with Mrs. Hill right now, just kind of seeing if she needs anything. Obviously, she really appreciates everyone around the country. Obviously, she doesn't have social media, but I know her son does, LJ. So she, they just haven't had many good nights of sleep since Sunday. So they're overwhelmed with the support and those reaching out and things of that nature. So we're just, like I said, I wanted to come on here. I asked her first if it was okay. She said yes. And obviously there's already been a scholarship foundation under Coach Hill's name here at UTRGV. Coach Burton, I send you the link. And that's, obviously this was his first head D1 job. And she wants his name, obviously, to live on forever here at UTRGV and obviously across the country. Obviously, Coach worked at several places and things of that nature. So I just wanted to share that on her behalf. She says thank you. I mean, she appreciates everything her children do as well. So obviously they have the Lou Hill Memorial Foundation, Scholarship Foundation, that UTRGV Athletics partnered with her, and so we just get that out. And as soon as she gets with me as far as the arrangements and stuff, I'll be sure to share that. Obviously, those that can join via Zoom and things of that nature, but we'll have all those details later on today. She told me, so she wanted me to share that with you guys as well. So yeah, that's all as far as if y'all have any questions on anything, but yeah, that's what she wanted me to share.
Yeah, just appreciate you, Caleb, being willing to jump on. Definitely didn't have to. We wanted to make sure to extend the invitation to those that were close to him. So I appreciate you coming on and just having the courage to do so. I know it's a really, really tough time for those that are even closer. So really just if you had anything else you wanted to say before you roll, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to do so.
No, man, like I said, I appreciate it. You know, it's been tough. You know, I work, yeah. You know.
Take your time, Caleb.
Yeah.
Take your time.
He didn't know me. He didn't know me when he hired me. It was his first head coaching job, and I just through someone he recruited, and that was my connection. Obviously, brought me back home. Didn't know me. Usually that's rare in this business for a head coach, someone who gets the first opportunity to hire someone he doesn't know and just word of mouth. Obviously, it helped who I worked for at the time. I was under Doc Sadler, and I had been a manager under Coach Tubby Smith. And so, man, he was just – and those who know him, I mean, everyone, I know the guys on here, y'all, Coach Boyd, you've been in the Big 12, Coach Mills and Coach Johnson. I know you know him. I know when you were, in the AAU circuit, I know he recruited, Coach Burton, you knew him, but obviously just being in this business, but just how he was, man, that's just, just a great human being. The way he treated me, obviously, I'm forever indebted to him, and just how hard he worked for, his staff, and how hard he worked for me, getting me on that Prairie View. I mean, he pushed, and he was on Coach Smith, and I said, Coach, it's going to take time. It's a pandemic, but he always wanted to, obviously he gave me the opportunity to be a first-time ops guy and let me work through mistakes and things like that. He was just so good about, not micromanaging and just letting us work and things like that. Just so good to us, so good to me. And so, yeah, that's what I'll share about him. Just has unbelievable character, unbelievable person. Obviously, if you spoke with him, he was going to give everyone the time of day, and everyone, those who know him know that, and those who obviously are sharing so many great things about him on Twitter, Facebook, social media, those giving their tributes and stuff. It's been that's given, I know that's given his family comfort. I know that's given me a lot of comfort and things of that nature. So yeah, that's all I'll share. I appreciate you guys, and best of luck on the rest of the year. And obviously this is for Coach Hill, just honoring him. And as soon as I get the information on the arrangements and things like that, I'll make sure to share that with as many people as I can. So.
Yeah, thanks, Caleb. Really appreciate you taking the time, man. I know you got to run and got to take care of stuff there, and salute to you for being on the front lines, helping the family and doing the hard work. So salute, man. We're here if you need it, okay?
Appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me.
Okay, Caleb.
Thank you, Caleb. Praying for you, brother.
Yeah, just I know you guys got a lot of stuff going on. We wanted to talk ball, and obviously this became the precedent because of how impactful Coach Hill was. So just want to give anybody words about anything that you want to say before you go, and then let everybody kind of get on with their day.
Yeah, I got to shoot out, but I just want to wish those two guys the best of luck as they finish this final stretch of the season. Obviously, everybody's been through a lot trying to get through, and commend you guys for helping your players. I thank you, Brian and Eli, for this platform. Obviously, I think it's given some access to some people who normally maybe wouldn't have had this access and opportunity to show people who they are. So we're all grateful for that, and just keep pushing. If I can help anybody, let me know. Brian, you got my cell phone. I don't know if my cell phone maybe the cell phone in the Big 12, but I'm open to helping anybody I can, man. I feel like my time on earth is best served by helping as many people as I can before I leave here.
Yeah, thanks so much, Coach. Even given the fact that most coaches wouldn't come on the next day after a game and traveling back, and obviously Monster win against Texas, but the Big 12 is the Big 12, and then you turn around and you got to play Kansas. That's your gift for beating Texas. So keep up the great work. We're all pulling for you and rooting for you. You're doing a tremendous job, man.
Appreciate it. Good luck to you guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Mike. Good luck.
Brian, Eli, thank y'all for the opportunities. It's good to see TJ. I don't really text coaches during the course of the year because I'm afraid to to some degree of superstition, jinx them. And and you're just like, man, let's see how this plays out. I remember one year at Baylor, we were 2-8, and ended up making the Sweet 16. We were 2-8 in conference and finished 9-9, made it to the Sweet 16. And so during that time, I wanted people kind of leave me alone. Don't shoot me sympathy text. I'm not trying to hear that. And if we were doing well, I didn't want to hear from you then either. It was just, you were just so locked in, but cheering like crazy for a number of people who are involved in this profession. And Brian, Eli, thanks for the opportunity to kind of honor Coach Hill and his family today.
Yeah, and Coach Mills, tremendous job you're doing over there, man. I know we didn't talk as much ball, and I'll leave you with this one. How fun is it, and how much – because you were a part of laying that foundation at Baylor and being there for so many years and so many years and so many years. And like TJ talked about, the guys you recruited, and you've done such a great job recruiting some elite players to ORU as well. I guess I'll just give you one last opportunity to talk about a little bit of Baylor, a little bit of ORU, and kind of how excited you are for those guys and how much you've taken from your experience there to put into ORU.
Yeah, my second year at Baylor, we won one game the entire year. We were actually 1-16 in conference, 1-15, and lost in the conference tournament. And then my last year there in 2017, we were number 1 in the country. And so to watch the whole pendulum swing and have a up close seat to that and be a part of it was tremendous. And then to come here and my first year, we were predicted to be last, and the next year, I think 6th, and last year 3rd, and this year 2nd. And we'll see how all of this plays out. The one thing I've realized is elevators don't get to the penthouse immediately. There's levels to this, and there's levels to it as players. There's levels to it as programs. I wish we all I'm more shocked by people who think that everything's going to go well rather than the opposite. And so it's our job to show up every day, recognizing that we're stewards. This is temporary, but I want to make sure that I leave this better than I found it. I had a high school coach who poured that into us. So when we left that locker room, it was better. That locker room looked better than when we first arrived. I want to do the same thing. I challenge our players to do the same thing. You leave practice today, you should leave better than when you came in. And so from that mentality, it's just plugging away day after day, trying to fulfill what you've been asked to do and be a good steward of the time that you have, because the reality is we're all interim. I remember when Dr. Garland took over at Baylor, they asked him about being an interim. He says, as I look at the other presidents on the wall, I realize how interim they were too. And
I love that.
Temporary. We just want to be good stewards with whatever we're given, and to look back on it and says, you know what, I gave you my best every single day. And it's not my job to fill other people's cup. People can take from this whatever they want. It's not my responsibility to fill your cup. It is my job to empty mine. And so I'm going to show up every day and I'm going to empty my cup. And if I don't, I'll come back the next day. And because we don't always, I'll give you a better job on the second day around. But just want to empty my cup every single day for the guys that I've been entrusted.
Yeah, it's great stuff, Coach. Always great stuff. Love having you on, Coach. Hopefully you'll be back. Hopefully you'll be back at some point. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Good to see you, Coach.
You,
always.
Thanks so much.
Always, Coach. Appreciate you.
Yeah, TJ, we'll let you have a few words about, just Texas State. You guys are having an incredible year, in first place now, competing at a high level. You inherited a challenging situation, but you've done it with class. I'll just let you say any last words you want to say just about the program, about the experience, how it's been for you, and, just the whole ride.
Yeah, B, and Eli, man, really appreciate this opportunity, certainly. Thanks for following. Thanks for all the support. If there's anything I could say about this program, I would start off by saying, we have a resilient group of young men. And I think when you take over a situation such as ours, it's almost as much about the followers as it is about the leader. Our young men, they've been willing followers. So they've made my job easy. They come from great families. They have a superb outlook on life, and they're very low maintenance. So, certainly the previous coach did an outstanding job of building the culture here and setting the bar pretty high. And, anybody that's followed him, they know the type of young men that he's going to leave in his program. So certainly can't get off of this without saying what good of a job that he did to make this possible for where we are right now. But the administration has been great. They've supported us and really, really put us in place where we can do things like just coach basketball. So I'm really appreciative. I don't know if there's a better situation I could have walked into, and I'm just humbled and I'm excited about what the future holds. And that future having the opportunity to play on Thursday, just going 1-0. That's the goal, not trying to look too far ahead. But I'll say this, if I could offer anything, before we can get to anything dealing with basketball, man, we really had to address the mental, emotional, and physical health of the players, and we have to constantly do that. I think if the foundation is set on those three things and that's at your core, I don't think you have a problem with your program, and winning could be a byproduct. So, hey, we've won a couple of games. And just like we won a couple, we've lost a couple. But at the end of the day, our goal remains the same. If we can focus on the mental health, emotional health, and physical health of each and every student athlete, it is my belief that winning would be a byproduct. So I'm enjoying it, man, learning a lot about myself, learning a lot about the profession, and just embracing everything that comes along with this opportunity. And thanks again, B. Can't thank you enough for all the support. And thank you and Eli for the platform.
Yeah, you got a whole army of people rooting for you, man. Just keep being you, and the rest will take care of itself, man. I'll let Eli say his last words, and we'll bring our next guest.
Yeah, no, I just really appreciate you taking the time. All of you guys are super busy with your schedules, and even though not necessarily talking X's and O's, it's always more important than that. And I'm glad that you were able to come on here and share your perspective with the other coaches that we've had. And crazy year for a number of reasons for a lot of different people. Everyone's been touched in some way. So I just really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your thoughts on what's going on.
Thank you guys for having me again, man. You guys be blessed, man.
Yeah, thanks, TJ. Same to you, man.
Have a good one, man.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, a lot of heavy stuff. Got to pay great tribute. Got to have some big time head coaches. We're gonna make this a smooth, quick transition and bring in a close friend of Lou Hill's, longtime friend, Alan Branch from Texas boys basketball, and let him just kind of give his thoughts and some opinions and share his heart on Coach Lou Hill. Coach Branch.
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing today?
Good morning. It's been a heavy day, but a good day to be able to celebrate and honor a special and important man. So we wanted to have you on to do the same.
Yeah, sounds good. Don't think I've ever had to do anything quite of this nature, on a public platform as this. So I'm a little awkward for me, to be totally honest. There were in 20, I guess a lot of people don't know exactly my whole basketball route, quite know. Growing up in the late 70s and finishing high school in the 80s, being a football guy, but, deep, I guess you would say deep rec playground basketball connection here in Oak Cliff, where, it was a different time. It was basketball was a little different then. We didn't have any club summer basketball. It was just rec and school ball, and I was football guy. Most people that don't know up to speed of where things are now would say, "Oh, that's Alan Brad's quarterback." Football, and then going on to the University of Texas and being around the Johnny Moores and Carlton Cooper. We knew each other from high school and playing. So basketball was just always deeply there. It was I don't want to say a pastime or culture. It was always there. I mean, all the guys and Sal Thompson and Ronnie Taylor and that passed on to the point guard there when we were there with back in Abe Lemon's days, and Ed Washington, one of my high school classmates, was on the team there. It was just basketball. That's where it was. I had really close friends that were playing for Shelby Metcalf, and it was kind of different then, and but I was drawn into basketball, started summer basketball in the 90s after I gotten out and got another career going and was living my life. And it was all about giving to a way to mentor, give to the community. And I started coaching summer ball and, had, I guess, a little different now when I started coaching. I mean, I had Division I guys right off the bat, and then as I moved up, John Urie and I became closely connected when TJ Ford was a young fella and moving into his prime and going on. And so I'm coaching summer ball to kind of speed things up a little bit here. And I came to, help kids. I got involved in grassroots basketball. Kids needed to understand. I still feel this way. I don't know if I get a chance to express it or do it sometime in the way I always used to do it, but I still do it in a kind of a one-on-one way with some kids. Is that I thought kids needed to understand the vehicle and opportunity provided as a student athlete. Obviously, everybody says, "Oh, you get a scholarship, get a scholarship, get a scholarship." That's great. That's a big part of it, but that's only a little bit of it. The opportunity that I had at the University of Texas and finishing up at Prairie View, the relationships. I mean, it's still to this day, look at some of my instructors at the University of Texas and some alums and people that I know and people that I know, the commissioner of the SWAC, Charles Nye, Kim Malone. I wanted kids to understand the opportunity that was there. And so as a summer coach, I was coaching basketball, but I was interacting. These were my old Southwest Conference guys, little younger, coming to play for coach there in Pasadena back in the old Region 14 days, San Jack. And Tony Benford being there at Texas Tech playing, and Carl Wright, and the guys that SMU was a different world then, like I said, but when I started coaching, I started running into all those old college relationships from the 80s and sometimes back to the 70s. A guy like a Barry Davis at Texas A&M was a recruiting coach. I can go right on Rob Wright and my other man from New York. I remember when they came down, even when I was in high school, and one of my teammates' older brother, Ren Wright, was playing at A&M, and those guys wouldn't go all the way back home. So there was this bond that was taking place in a very, very organic way. Things weren't as synthetically induced and managed and grown as they are nowadays. But we understood why things were going on. So I got into grassroots basketball for that purpose. Like I've said once before, Speed Up Again, it was to help kids understand the opportunity, whether it was Ivy League school, whether it was a Division II school, junior college, no matter what it was, how you utilize this vehicle of basketball, not just to get a scholarship, but to have a level of overall development on many fronts and build relationships, and that would allow you to move on into your life. I often say you're going to have 40 years of life to live after basketball is done if you're blessed, but there's so much can be given to you through it. And so probably in the, I guess, 2002, 3, Coach Evans and them were at Arizona State. I didn't even know what a scouting service was. I knew what a scouting report was, but I played in Mike Koonstad. I took my team. We played in Mike Koonstad events. In the 90s, it's coming up right up that time, but never really thought about it. It was just a Gasso event. And I started to take kids to Eastern Invitational. Y'all know this hoop group now with Rob Kennedy. And that's where I had a chance to learn, and the organic nature about it, simultaneously the Tony Stubblefields and the Tony Benfords and Lou Hill was with Melvin, and they told me that, Brad, you running a scouting service. You should be. We need to pay you. I remember it was pouring down raining one day. We came out of a playoff game at Ellis Davis Fieldhouse, and Tony Benford and Tony Stubblefield were coming out. I know it was those two guys, and like I said, it was literally pouring down raining, and they said, "Man, let's catch up in the morning. We'll get you on call. We're gonna show you how to get your scouting service started. You already are doing it." There were no websites in those days. There was no Twitter. Mainly just cell phone and the airport. And the elite camps and working and speaking at elite camps, and Lou leaving and going. That's how I met Coach Kruger. We had a couple kids, Wink and Nigerian kid, guard, really good. Both went to UNLV. And what happened in that window of time there, and is that those guys organically embraced our relationships. Tony Benford and I had kind of known each other from a long time. He was a Southwest Conference guy, Robert Kirby. I mean, you go down through the list, and Lou was there, and we would talk, and I guess I'm kind of babbling a little bit, but it was a situation where we would talk on a regular basis about player development, and Lou was a different type of Division I coach. He would often say that, man, this recruiting stuff just kills me. He loved to sit in the gym and developmental type atmospheres and just step by step teach a kid how to play. And it wasn't skill development, it was basketball development. You say, what's the difference? I mean, so now you got all these guys with skill development, skill dribble, left, right, crossover, you got this step back. all this set of tools, but Lou was really. I remember Buddy, when I first saw Buddy, he asked me what I thought. I saw him in Milwaukee, and big motor coach. I got ways to go skill wise. Oh, I love that. Where he work hard, he loved that, and in all of that, he wanted you to show. You see guys putting chairs on the courts and cones on the courts. He turned that cone or that chair into a defender, a teammate, or a defender, and showed where the reads were. Lou loved that. Was his passion in basketball, and then taking that to the court and the ability to use it. And I tell you, one of the most other unique things, and this is not only just Lou, but inside of our circle that always thought was really, really special. They were concerned about a player or kid's success, especially if he was, in my sphere of influence, I guess the NCAA might would call it. He was just as concerned if Coach Crew decided, we're going to take this kid and we're not going to take the kid branch, or we're not going to continue to recruit the kid, or we're going to go a different direction, or we don't need a position. He was still just as concerned about the kid getting eligible and the kid being successful in life. And I mean that wholeheartedly dug into it. And as we moved along and going down to taking the job there as a head coach, our conversations, the LJ started coming along. I was talking to Robert Kirby this morning. I was laughing about something I told Robbie when LJ was younger, and he said, "Man, I don't know if he's quite ready for these camps and stuff. He's not that strong yet, kind of going to be a late grower." Lou and I always talked about the fact that we both went to high school as just 5'2", 5'3", 5'4", 110-pound guys, and just talk about, how kids develop it. I said, allowing LJ to, do some of the same things. And I remember I was laughing with Robert this morning, and it was about the fact that I told Lou was like, I said, Lou's not quite. Lou, I think he was ready to come to Luke's camp or do any of those kind of things. And I said, Lou, just sit in the camp. Yeah, you get knocked around a little bit, but one thing about the getting knocked around would allow him to learn and understand what it is he was preparing to grow into as a player. And he said, "Yeah, Branch, I like that. Don't worry about all this ranking stuff." He said, "Yeah, I'm not. I understand. I know y'all." And, it was the opportunity to get the head coaching job. It's a very challenging. I saw Damon on earlier, TJ, where he is now, praying for him on a regular basis. For us to get an opportunity to be a head coach is such a talent that there's so many intimate support, embracing that goes on behind the scene that is not probably a public forum like this is probably not the place to really address it, but it has nothing to do with recruiting. It has nothing to do with wins and losses. It has to do with a certain spiritual and mental and emotional embracement that came. And, Lou and I, this was the year, and we knew it was planned to be the year all the way through. His back bothered him a lot, and I won't go into the details of, why we lost him, but, he faith over fear was a strong thing. Something, Stubbs, we talked a lot about, wish she'd done this, wish she'd done that. I I don't know if you have any questions for me. That's about as good as I can do.
No, you're good. You're good. We wanted to give you the opportunity to have the floor and be able to.
Tremendous. I didn't say it. He a tremendous human being. He wasn't a. Some people didn't quite understand. He wasn't a real warm and fuzzy type guy, but you didn't realize that he was going to do something to help you or do something. But it's like Walker said the other day. Branch, he's a New Yorker. As long as he spent down in Texas, those guys just don't lose their, that northern different kind of. They don't have the warm and fuzzy thing maybe like we have here. But he was close. He was instrumental in me having an opportunity. He was a key part of a group of men, about 7 of us we think we've counted, and that interacted in the Final Fours and how we would be in a small room watching TV. And I mean, some of the things that we did, it was almost make us like college kids or something. You look back and now, we've all kind of grown to the point, I guess gotten old too. And, everybody's got their own thing, family. But back in those days, man, we were just there. I even think about, guys like Mark Shue coming along. Mark Shue had sleep on the floor or the couch. He was happy if we were in a room where we had a couch. I mean, I know you guys probably don't understand all that crazy stuff, but Lou was tremendous, and I learned from him on and off the court. He, no matter where he was recruiting in Texas, when he came out of Vegas or Norman, Oklahoma, and got down in Texas, he made time to see his daughters. I never knew them, but I would see them. They would come. Lou and I would be meeting, and they would come. All right, coach, I'm gonna let you spend time. He good guy. Good guy. Hell of a basketball coach. As far as I'm concerned, he did it.
Yep.
Final Four assistant, recruited pros, became a head coach. As far as I'm concerned, in my head, he won the WAC this year.
Yep. He was undefeated. Well, Coach, thanks so much for taking time. I call you Uncle Brown. Appreciate you giving some wisdom and sharing some nuggets about your relationship with Coach Hill.
Yeah, man, sounds good, man. I don't know Eli there, but hello, young fella.
Thanks so much for taking the time to hang out with us. We really appreciate it.
Okay, all right, you guys have a great day, man. Tell Daniel I say hello. I'll text him. Yeah. Okay.
You too, Coach. Yeah, great stuff. Another person that knew Coach well. We're going to transition to the West Coast. We have a guest, Mr. Mighty Mouse himself, one of the best point guards to ever play in a Toronto Raptors uniform for sure. And he gets an honorary championship because he laid the foundation for those guys. And what an incredible job he's done in Pacific. Can't speak enough volume about another difficult job like we're talking about with Coach Hill. Inherited a program that was not in good shape, had a lot of what's the word I want to use? A lot of limitations because of some of the things that were inherited, as far as scholarships, as far as sanctions, as far as just not in a great position, about as tough a position as to be in, and in a high level league, as we see Gonzaga's the #1 team in the country in that league. So he's just done an incredible job, broken records everywhere he's been, and this is what he does, and is down to earth enough to come hang out with us and talk some hoops. So excited to have Mighty Mouse Dame Stoudemire in the building.
Brian.
Coach, what up?
Hey, Coach.
How y'all doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Just I don't know if you knew Coach Hill. We've been talking about him some. We'll segue with that first and then talk some hoops, because I know he would want us, okay, y'all talked enough about me, talk about some hoops. I know that's how he would say it. So did you know Coach Hill? And I'll let you say any words you have on him, and then we'll talk about Pacific.
Well, I knew Lou the first time I met Lou. It was probably, I wasn't even in college yet. So it about the time I was transitioning. So I've probably been coaching for about a year. So I was with the Memphis Grizzlies at that time. So they were still in Vegas. They were they were still in Vegas. They were UNLV. And we were down there for summer league. The NBA summer league obviously is down in Vegas, and so
right.
So it had gotten late and we had off day. So I had went and hung out with some friends, and I was hungry. So they had the roof. We were staying at the Palms, so they had that Roof Chris down the street.
Not too bad.
Everybody that knew Vegas at that time, they had a Palms, and the Palms, and that Roof Chris was down the street, and it stayed open until 2 a.m. And I went down there, and that's when I met Lou. He was actually in there eating himself, and that's when I met him first time I met him. And then obviously I seen him a lot on the road. Never really recruited against each other, just kind of chopped it up. And then when we both became head coaches, we talked a little bit more. Obviously, we ended up in a lot of the same places because, really and truly, the type of job he had was the type of job I had. So we were trying to find stuff, out the mud and find it, turning them bushes, man, that everybody don't got to go to. So, the last time I talked to him was probably, it was during the pandemic. So it was probably, let's call it June, July. And, he just kind of was raving about his team. He really liked the squad at that time, and we were just talking, just kind of catching up. But, man, just kind of a sad deal. I was listening to Alan Branch and, the guys that he was talking about, even the coaches, and, just all, just that group of guys, because I coached with Robert Kirby at Memphis. That group of guys, just a really good group of guys. And, Lou was always a good dude. And I thought Alan kind of, summed it up best, because I had 8 the last time I physically seen Lou, we were down in Hutch. So what? We've been off the road for a year, so maybe that was 2 years ago now, right? So we were, you're hungry. Everybody go over that BJ's. It's not too much open down there when you're coming back.
Not at all.
Down there, and, we just chopped it up for a while, and like I said, man, he's a really good guy, man, and it's just unfortunate, man, what happened.
Yeah, extremely. We hate to lose the good ones, and I definitely think that you're one of those guys that's continuing to carry that torch as a head coach and representing what he represented, getting it out the mud, like you said. Talk about, I'm gonna let Eli have the rest because I've been taking all of them, so I'm gonna let Eli get his. But it's incredible what you've done there, Coach. I don't know if anybody, even when you got the job there, knew that you would be able to do what you're doing now. And I say that with all the records that were broken last year. I was reading a quote from you, matter of fact, when you hired Leonard Perry as well, because a lot of guys that have been at the NBA level and have been a high-level assistant don't understand how important hiring a staff is. And you've done a tremendous job hiring staff. You've done a tremendous job recruiting. And then you can actually coach, which they don't necessarily think that you could be able to do. So you've checked all the boxes that people probably didn't think you could do at a place that they probably didn't think you could do it. So just talk about the process, if you don't mind, of how you built it and broken, some of those records and gotten the blessing of extensions and all of those things from your hard work.
I just, I feel like a lot of the times, like, people don't take the time to really know and kind of dig up your background of, who you really are and how you did it. And, I'll double all the way back and I'll talk about how I even got into coaching. Chris Del Conte, the athletic director at Texas, he was at Arizona when I was an undergrad. Him and Jim Livengood came over from Wazoo, Washington State. And, I living in Houston at the time. So Chris had got the job. He was the AD at Rice. And so I used to go up, I would work out. I was kind of in between not knowing what I wanted to do. And, so I would, work out at Rice in the morning. Then I'll go, if he had time, in between his schedule, I go and just kind of shoot the breeze with him a little bit. And he was like, man, you should get into coaching. I never really wanted to get into coaching. I didn't really know what I was going to do. And so he told me, you should go down there and talk to Ben Braun, who I didn't know had just got let go of Cal, who he hired. And so, I ended up going down there and talking to Ben, and that's kind of how I got on coaching. And from there, I kind of went all the way back there because it's like, see the evolution of it. It's not like somebody handed me something, you know what I mean? And I just kind of, I don't really tell the story because it doesn't really matter how you got here. Just do what you got to do when you get here, right? But, it's almost as if, people act like at times like I didn't pay my dues, like I was a little different. Even with my NBA career, people tend to forget, like, it wasn't like I was McDonald's All-American. It wasn't like I was any of that. I was always having to prove myself on every level. So that's just kind of been like the history of me, through and through. And, I leave Rice, and I basically Ben just made up a position. I think he called me maybe director of operations or something. It was really made up, so, but it was cool though. I appreciated Ben, and we're really good friends, I actually talked to him about coming on the staff as well when I got this job, because, he did such a great job in helping me, get into college coaching. I went to the Memphis Grizzlies. Lionel Hollins was hired, and, I was with great coaches. So the staff I had there, great coaches, great mentors. Henry Bibby, longtime coach. Johnny Davis was on that staff. A young Dave Yeager was on that staff. A guy by the name of Gary Smith, and Gary Smith is a scout for the Boston Celtics right now, man. They taught me everything. They walked me through everything. I seen how as crazy as it is, I didn't know I would have been at Pacific, but I'm gonna go all the way back so you guys remember, right? So Marc Gasol was a young player, just got traded. Remember, Marc got traded for his brother, so right. He wasn't Marc Gasol that ended up being Marc Gasol. He was a chubby.
Right.
Mike Conley was the Mike Conley that I played with, that I had just got done playing with a year earlier. So he wasn't polished. He wasn't who he was. Kyle Lowry was not Kyle Lowry at that time. You got 2 point guards they're fighting. I should say more so Kyle. Mike was laid back. Kyle, he wanted it. Kyle, they're totally different guys. You had a young PK, you had OJ Mayo. Man, you had such an inexperienced team. We had veterans on our squad. Quentin Ross was really good for that team.
Mm.
We had a bunch of young players, and then we had a bunch of journeymen, and we were trying to figure it all out. And we had a coach that had never been a head coach in the NBA, where it was his job. They hired him, not interim, and Lionel Hollins.
Right. So
when I say the summer, we're like, Lionel's like, man, I need you guys to invest in what we're doing. And in a sense, man, everything here is on the low end. They not giving, they wasn't letting them hire staff. Truth be told, the only reason I was on the staff, guys, and he told me too, Lionel told me the only reason I was on the staff and brought on is because what I did when I was in Memphis, I deferred some money, so they still owed me some money. So the owner, who I actually was good friends with, Michael Heisley, rest his soul, because he's passed away since. He actually said, you should call Damon because I still owe him some money. So, that's kind of how it went, man. And so from there, people always say, well, the Arizona connection with me and Josh, and then they talk about that, and I'm like, that's not how it went. So what I was doing when I was in the pros, they would let me like watch college film, and I could help the front office in terms of things of that nature. And then I would call around and kind of lurk around to get information about a lot of guys, who were coming up in the draft, and then who were in high school. Then it just so happened that Terrence Jones, my cousin, was getting recruited by everybody in the country. So I got the best of both worlds. So I'm learning everything on the run. I'm learning college, learning coaching.
Right.
Then I got family who being recruited by everybody in the country. So I'm getting phone calls from, Josh Pastner, Jeff Capel, John Calipari, Lorenzo Romo. I'm getting, everybody calling me. And so I'm telling them, truth be told, like, man, I don't know what the man gonna do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't talk to him about what school he should go to or none of those different things. I don't, and so it was a great situation for me, and I learned a lot during that time. And then I obviously knew Josh from Arizona, but I'm older than Josh. So I didn't know Josh like that, but I knew Josh. Right. Josh had some openings on his staff, and I didn't call Josh about the job. Josh just kind of started talking to me. So me and Josh developed a dialogue, and we kind of talked every day, and we just kind of talked basketball. We talked Lute Olson. We talked Arizona old days. We talked about, college basketball and if I wanted to get in and how, if I did want to get in, would I be interested, in coming on the Memphis staff? And, I think people thought it was something that just kind of like it made sense. Okay, Damon's from Arizona. Josh went there. No, it was organic. Me and Josh got to know each other. That was a process. I'm telling you, it was a process. And anybody that Josh has hired that he didn't know will tell you the same thing. He don't really move fast on hires. That's just not him.
Right.
And so, we talked for a long time. So what happened was I got through the playoffs and we ended up losing. And, then, Josh ended up bringing me on and he actually helped me out. I owe Josh a lot, helped me. He taught me a lot. He let me dive into my strengths. He didn't have me worry about the academic part. He didn't have me worry about the day-to-day, the paperwork and all that stuff. He said, man, recruit, learn this, go around the city of Memphis, develop relationships, get on the horn, talk to guys, learn guys, try to figure some things out, because, it's a process with it. So, I owe him a whole lot in that process. And obviously from there, I went to Arizona, with Coach Miller, and we had a hell of a run there. And then I went back to Memphis before I was able to get the job here at Pacific. But I just, back to your original question, I don't think that people look at your journey. They kind of look at it different. I didn't get really handed nothing to get in this. And I don't, and to that point, I tell people this as well. I'm not envious or jealous of somebody that got it a little easier. I'm totally not like that. I just believe that you are where you are. And you just kind of move from there and you do what you got to do.
Yep. Well said. Well said. I love it. Eli, I'll let you take over.
Yeah, I was curious. We were talking about transitioning from the playing career to the coaching career. Was there maybe a certain like a light bulb that went off in realizing that, hey, like maybe I want to take up coaching once I'm done with my playing days?
I promise you it never came to that. But I also didn't think about retirement in terms of what am I going to do? I just was going to let everything kind of happen organically. And what I realized is that, you still kind of got the same habits, and I was waking up early. I was doing the same thing. I'm working out, doing all the same things. But the only difference is your day is done about 10:30, man. And it was, I was like, ooh, I don't know about this one. I got to figure some things out. And, that's where the coaching became therapeutic. It never was about the money because I've never been close to making the money, obviously, that I made playing, in the NBA. So it was all about just being therapeutic. I was able to stay close to the game. And before I even took that job too, a little bit, because living in Houston, obviously I was with John Lucas a lot. So, I was there for I seen John Lucas Enterprises get off the ground. I was there when he did his first middle school camp. I was teaching at that camp. So I seen all the stuff. Like I can take you all the way back, go all the way back. I seen everybody come through the gym, I should say, all the coaches that came through there. You know, so it was a process. It was a gradual process. And, you know, John used to tell me that all the time as well, you know, but I was just figuring more so I'd be a teacher. I was just a guy that can be a confidant to a lot of the young kids, you know, mentorship. And like I said, it was so many kids coming through the gym, man. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed those days. Even when I was done, I enjoyed those days.
Tell us this, Dame. What's one thing about Pacific and what you guys have done, or just about the place that you want people to know that they don't know or that they don't appreciate? Whether it's the job you've done, whether it's something that's there that is attractive for recruits, or the style of play, or how you guys coach them, because you're not just getting people to come to UOP just because, you know, your colors are orange and black and because you played in the NBA. There's a lot of guys that have played in the NBA that couldn't do what you're doing. So a lot of it has to do with the chip on your shoulder and the path that you've made to get there and that you've paid and put in your dues. But what would you like people to know more about Pacific that they don't know or don't appreciate?
You know, I would say this. I don't know. I don't know if Pacific will ever be appreciated, but I'll say this, and I'll add myself to Pacific and the journey. I think that when you take a job like Pacific, you gotta, number one, you have to know what you're doing, and you gotta be kind of outside the box. There's a lot of negative things that are said about being here at Pacific and being in Stockton, and some things you fight, some things you don't fight. But the one thing I always fight, and what I'm always appreciative about being in this situation, being here, being at Pacific and being in Stockton, is that it reminds me a lot of Memphis. It's not necessarily like Memphis. I don't mean it in that way, because Memphis is obviously bigger. There's more going on, things of that nature. But those people in Memphis take the same pride about being, you know, about being a Memphis Tiger fan as, you know, the people out here take pride in, you know, being Pacific fans and going to Pacific. So from that standpoint, I always say, like, where I'm going with this is people talk about the job and, you know, the job that we've done here and things that we need to do. And, you know, most people ask me about what I don't have. And when I came into the job, I never thought about what I didn't have. I thought about it as an opportunity because I hadn't been given an opportunity. So all I wanted was an opportunity. It could have been anywhere. It could have been NAIA, Division II, Division III. And what I say is, and when I say you got to know what you're doing, you really got to know what you're doing, because you'll waste a lot of time. Because everything that I actually walked in the door with, I'll be honest with you, it didn't prepare me for this job. So being in Memphis and being at Arizona, it's illusions when you come to jobs like this, because there's no private planes for recruiting. There's no chartered planes to go to games. The budgets are 7-8 times bigger. You gotta adjust your eyes in terms of the talent that you're recruiting. You know, there's just a lot of things that you have to do. And I can remember being involved in a couple jobs early on in my career, and they were, you know, couple P5 situations. I'll be totally honest with you guys, I would have got fired. You know, and that's the beauty of being here at Pacific, because I've been able to learn on the run.
Right.
And unlike a lot of my peers, even when I've made mistakes, because I've had to learn, I don't make mistakes in the public eye. So I've been able to learn on the run. I've been able to learn about every single thing hands-on from that standpoint. Budget, you're dealing with the academics, like every single thing, the relationship, or how the relationship equates across campus to the athletic department. You have so many different things that you have on your plate. And it's been great for me to understand and recreate what I thought it was to run a program to now being here, you know, it's not like I'm chasing, because I'm not chasing. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm chasing, but I feel like being here has prepared me for anything.
Yep.
Because, you know, I always say this now. I say this now when people talk about this job, I say, well, what people need to ask themselves is, would this guy take this job and do the same job here? I tell people all the time.
$1 million question right there.
You know, I tell people this all the time. You know, me and my athletic director talk all the time, and she always tells me that she appreciates me. And I said, you know, I appreciate that. I appreciate you for saying that. But when I got this job, it was an opportunity. Like, I knew exactly what I was stepping into, and I took this job. And believe me, there were a lot of people that said, don't take that job.
Yep.
You know, and I knew exactly what I was stepping into. But the thing about it is that when you, like, why would I not take the job if they offered me the job? I tell people this all the time, man. Beggars can't be choosy, man. Like, want to hire you, they want to hire you.
Right.
You got to go make something happen. You got to go bet on yourself. And that's how it's been for me pretty much my whole, basketball career and my coaching career.
I love it. I love it. Coach, I'll let Eli ask one, and then we'll let you run back to running your program. And appreciate you taking the time today. I know it was a little off schedule than normal, and appreciate your patience and sharing about Lou Hill and listening. And it's a big deal, and I take a lot of pride in it because, as Black men in this profession, I'll go ahead and say it. There's not a ton of us. Many times it's one per staff, and not a lot of us get those opportunities like you got and like Lou Hill got, and take them and make something of it. And I just think there's so much to be celebrated. He's not one of these guys that's getting celebrated on ESPN, so we're going to do the best we can to celebrate him here, because I believe we would all want the same for us. So I appreciate so much for you taking the time, and it means more than you know. So Eli, I'll let you close it out.
Yeah, I just one last here to wrap it up. You guys have shown some serious fight throughout the season and what's been a really unusual year. I'd just like to hear your perspective of how you as a staff have embraced this strange season, and especially the players and how they've been able to handle and fight through some challenging circumstances.
It's been a challenge. We've forget the basketball, just on the initial, it's like trying to figure everything out and how the season is going to go. And truth be told, I didn't put a whole lot into everything early on because you just didn't know. And I just talked to the staff and the players about adjusting on the run. We got to figure things out. And unfortunately for us, basketball-wise, everything was taken away from us early. So we had 2 pauses early, which were 44 days combined. And that hurt us, but everybody at some point has been through something. But we figured it out, and I think we found a rhythm. And, right now we've been able to practice. We've been able to practice a lot. And I think that, even though we've only played 2 games, I think in the last, maybe the last 13, 14 days, I think that you've seen the improvement in our team, and we're excited about moving forward. I tell everybody this, we only played 10 games. Most teams have at least played in our league at least 3 more games than we have. And the biggest thing is that I don't think we have to put our head down about any of our 5 losses this year. It's just a matter of how we move forward, losing to Gonzaga twice, losing to BYU once, losing to Pepperdine, then losing to Reno, who just came off a great weekend, sweeping who arguably most people are talking about as the best team in the Mountain West, Boise. So, we just got to move forward. Don't know if we'll get 10 games in, but I just love the direction we're going. We've gotten better. We haven't seen the result, but, we're putting in the work. And this has been the funnest year now that we're back on the court, because we've taken the time, I think, as a staff to do a lot more teaching, because it's had to be a lot more patience, So It's been really fun for me. The staff is great. I want to mention all their names because I think that, sometimes, they give head coaches credit, but, sometimes I try not to, but you forget to give your guys, they're just doing what they do for the program. And, I don't think that, for me, I take it for granted. Leonard Perry does a great job. It's funny, man, because, most people, they have different relationships. And, me and Leonard, I think that we have a, relationship, big brother, little brother, but it's just reversed that I just happen to be, the head coach. And, the same time we love on each other, it's just not seen, man. We argue a lot too. we argue behind closed doors because, I think that, with our staff, I think that me and him understand what's at stake, what's at stake a lot of times. And you got to take advantage of these situations. And, I think he's done a great job. And the one thing that I love about him is that he knows when and when not to, and he's comfortable of who he is. And more importantly, I'm comfortable with who he is as a coach. Like as a head coach, you got to be comfortable with associate head coaching. If I left for a week, I wouldn't even be worried about it. You know what I mean? If I had to leave practice on emergency, I wouldn't even be worried about it because I know what he can do. That's how much confidence I have in him. And Luke Witz and JD Luster, they're the same way, but they bring a totally different dynamic to the table. And, it's with them two guys, they're young, they're energetic, and I think they do a great job on the floor with the guys. I think that, they do a great job. And, now I would say especially Luke, because JD, he was a grad assistant at Arizona when I was at Arizona as an assistant, and that's how our relationship developed. They know exactly who I am. And, man, I try to let my guys coach, and they'll tell you, like, I'm the one thing that I learned when I was in the pros is that these players don't want to hear a coach do a lot of talking. When you say something, you got to have some meaning behind it. Because when you're talking to talk, like, they're not listening to you. So I try to give them as much of a platform and let them jump out there and do the different things that they want to do and need to do to help them grow as assistant coaches. Help them grow so they can eventually, be able to be there to try to get a head job. But I love the staff. Like I said, I think that, all the things we don't have, we got to rely on each other because those guys wear a lot of different hats within what they're trying to do. And, it's a lot of things that go unnoticed by most, but don't go unnoticed by me with those three guys, with the things that they do. And, I'm hoping that, all three of them at some point, we'll be able to get a shot at having their own program. Leonard again, especially, but yeah, just getting a shot to get back out there, man, and that'll be great for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Coach, well, speaking of great, man, you to be as great as you are and be as humble as you are is extremely rare, man. I've always thought it, down to earth. When I first met you, you act like we were already boys, like you were just chopping it up. I'm like, this is Damon Stoudemire I'm talking to. Is this the right guy? But most people who done the things you've done as a player and even as a coach just don't have the same humility and approach, and I respect that so much. And of course, when it comes time to be about business, you're about business. But your players love playing for you, your staff loves working for you, man, and everybody just is rooting for you, man. I just appreciate so much you taking the time and keep up the great work, man. We're all rooting for you from this way.
Appreciate y'all, man. Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're going to have you back, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'll come back. Got a little more time. I'll come back, chop it up. I can tell stories for about 5 hours now.
Between you and Branch, y'all take up the whole day. All right, Coach, be safe. Good luck the rest of the way.
All right,
thanks.
y'all.
Okay. Yeah, Mighty Mouse in the building. So, yeah, been a full show today. We're going to end at the top of the polls with the undefeated. Just got another win last night against the team that's in second place, right behind them in BYU. But we have Coach Roger Powell from Gonzaga, the Zags, number 1 in the country. Coach, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing, Brian?
We're doing well, man. We're doing well. Eli's about to put me in a headlock because I'm taking all the questions, so I'm gonna let him go first. But I appreciate you coming on today, man. It means a lot. You guys just played again last night between you and Coach Boynton from Oklahoma State was on earlier. Just played last night. It means a lot to us to be able to just, not only show you guys love, but for you guys to show us love. You could be doing a lot of other things. We know that. So thanks so much for taking the time to hang out with us.
Man, I appreciate you guys having me. I was listening to Damon's interview before, and I was like, I was really interested, man. That was really good. I was enjoying it. So it's an honor to kind of come on after him.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Just the fact that he came on, period. Like it still goes back. But you could play yourself, though. Let's not get that twisted. You got a lot done when you played. You got a lot done. But anyway, I'm gonna get out the way. I'm gonna let Eli lead the way, and I'll come back in.
Sure.
Yeah, first off, just appreciate you taking the time during your busy schedule to hop on with us. I guess first things first, you guys are in the midst of just a tremendous season, still unbeaten to this point. What has made this group so special to be able to accomplish as much as you've been able to accomplish?
Man, it's the culture here is great. Obviously, I'm coaching for a Hall of Fame coach in my eyes, Coach Few, and just our staff, the camaraderie and the chemistry. And I think it's something that, could not be understated, how much chemistry is important in success, especially in this time and this year, all the challenges that we faced and other programs have faced. But man, I mean, these guys love each other. I think they've really embraced the attitude of gratitude to be playing. And hey, just things have been working out for us. It's been fun so far.
And kind of going back to that conversation, last year was a very special year as well for this program. And though you do have new guys on the roster, there's still a lot of carryover from that team that could have accomplished really special things in March. Is there any sort of maybe like a chip on the shoulder or some extra incentive because last year there wasn't that opportunity?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think, having the season taken from us, the tournament taken from us, winning our conference tournament, and then the next day finding out that we weren't going to play in the NCAA tournament, it was a hit. And, I think guys were hungry to have a chance to win it all. And I think now you're seeing a bunch that, especially the guys who were on our team last year, that are playing, like every game is their last.
And with some of the newcomers on this team, you have a number of new guys who've embraced big roles. Jalen Suggs has been phenomenal. Andrew Nembhard has played really well. Can you speak to those guys and what they've brought to this program that you didn't necessarily have last year?
I mean, they've been huge, man. I think Jalen Suggs is the highest recruit to come to Gonzaga, and he's been a major part of our team, and not just our team, but the chemistry. The way he's come in and gel with the guys and his humility, and it's really helped our team be successful. And obviously, he's a phenomenal player, and I mean, he makes huge plays for us. And it's a team where we have 8 guys, 9 guys, that could come in and make plays for you to win. And I think that depth has been huge for us.
From kind of an off-court perspective, I mean, the accomplishments and the accolades that have come your program's way throughout the season, more deserved than anything. But I think to be playing at this high of a level in such an unusual season where, I mean, first off, to not have the crowd at the kennel, that's the first things first on that. But just having to deal with all the protocols and things like that. What can you say about your players and also the staff and how they've been able to navigate not only on the on-court perspective, but especially the off-court perspective with COVID and just team chemistry and a new team and everything like that?
Man, it's been so much. I mean, from scheduling, Coach Few and the guy TJ who does our scheduling. I mean, it's been crazy, and things change overnight, and this this past game last night, we weren't supposed to play BYU. We were supposed to play BYU at the end of the season, so we had to kind of adjust and change scouts and get ready. And so it's been intense. And I tell people all the time, like the teams that are able to win, win it all this year or have success during a season like this, it says a lot about their character. And our players they've adjusted. They've we were shut down. And they just keep coming, and they just keep competing and working with us and the university to stay safe during this crazy year. And
speaking of the scheduling, it's something that I've been maybe most impressed by with the Gonzaga program is this mentality of like we'll go play anyone anywhere. Where does that stem from? Is that just the coaching staff's perspective, or the players? Do they always have that kind of competitive spirit to go and play whoever's potentially upcoming?
Man, I think it's the whole program, man. From the coaches to the players. Obviously, Coach Few is our head, and just that blue collar and not being afraid to play anybody mindset. It carries throughout the whole program, and it helps. When you play the best, and if we're able to win some of those games like we have this year, I think that's the reason that you look at rankings. We don't really think too much about our ranking, but I think it comes from us playing high caliber teams, especially in the non-conference season.
And speaking of Few, what is he like to coach with, and how does the whole staff kind of work together with such a cohesive unit there?
Yeah, like you said cohesive. He does a great job of pushing us and pushing our players. Then also he gives us the freedom to do a great job. Like Damon was saying with his coaches, he gives his assistants a voice, and they're able to say things. And I think Coach Few does a great job of that. And I think it's developing me as a young coach, a young up and coming coach. And I think the other coaches on our staff that have been there for a long time, have been able to develop their skills. And they do a great job. Tommy Lloyd has been here pretty much the whole time. Few's been the head coach, and Brian Michelson as well has been here for a long time. So, me coming into this, finishing up my second year, it's been great, man. And I see why, Gonzaga has been able to have so much success over the years.
What's the not the secret sauce? We know you can't give that away, but how did you transition into a place that is so elite already? How did you figure out how you yourself as an assistant coach could add value? Because I think that's a hard challenge, is you almost walk around on eggshells a little bit because you don't want to mess up, but you're trying to get a feel of who does what when. And I'm sure Coach gave you a clear role, but it's still trying to figure out how to add value. How did you kind of figure out that part? Because it seems like you yourself, along with the staff, is really excelling and fitting seamlessly in your 2-year transition.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I think is has been great is I can be myself. I think in the hiring process when we were talking about coming here, and I was talking with the staff, I didn't have to change who I was. The things that I bring to this staff and this program, it fits me, and I think that's huge. And it just frees me up just to be who I am. Obviously bringing energy, being passionate, being a former player. The experiences I've had and being a major part of defenses in the last places I've been. All those things, I think, just kind of bringing them into this program has been huge, and we really work together really well. Coach gives us a lot of freedom. He gives us a lot of responsibility, but he expects us to do a really good job. Doesn't care how you do it, just as long as it's done, and our players are able to respond and they get better, and that's been great because it challenges you as an assistant to be really good because you have that freedom to be creative and do it the way you think it needs to be done.
And then kind of just piggybacking on that, Coach, you did a lot of good things as a player. How much does that help you? Do you still have to get a guy one-on-one and just put him in the rim one time, or you have to get an ISO and clear out? What do you use that still? Do you have to pull up the YouTube and say, hey, look at what I used to do, young fella? You gotta listen to me.
I can't pull the YouTube up, man. Hopefully they do it on their own. But crazy thing is, man, last year we had injuries and things, and we ended up having basically like 8 guys that could play. So I literally practiced last year.
How about
And
that?
it was my 9th year coaching, man. I retired at 28, and I coach. I never played. I never went to full practice. Last year, we're the number 1 team in the country, and here I am in practice going at dudes. And it was great because I think that it really, I gained a lot of respect from the players, knowing that, hey, man, he can still play and he can do this and do that. Now they didn't see me at night when I was walking slow, man, and people were hurting and stuff. But no, it was fun. It was fun, and I think it helps, just having those experiences, being able to relate to the guys, and when I tell them things, they know that, hey, he's done this, he's been here. I mean, from playing in national championship game, being on number 1 team in the country in college, and being in an environment like this, like we've been in the last couple of years, they know when I say things, it's not just from what I've read, I've experienced it.
Right.
And I think it adds value, and the players respect it.
No question. No question. Talk about the Blue Road. Can you tell it? Is that part of the secret sauce? Is that a part of that's part of the language, right? The Blue Road.
What is that?
The Blue Road.
Wait, hold on. What is the Blue Road?
I think that's something that they talk about on the social media for Gonzaga. They talk about the Blue Road. Does that sound familiar?
Man, there's so much secret stuff around here, secret sauce. I actually the Blue Road. But definitely it's a special place, man. Like when I came here, everyone was like, "Hey, what is it about Gonzaga?" I mean, there's like this hidden secret thing.
It's like this mystic aura around it.
It really is. But then once you're a part of it, man, it's really nothing crazy spectacular except, Coach Few's a hard-nosed coach that loves his players, and our staff has great chemistry, and Spokane loves Gonzaga basketball. It's almost like if I had to kind of give you an idea of what it's like being here and being a part of our program, and not to give you too much stuff,
right? I
would say it's a top 5 blue blood type program with success, resources.
Yeah.
But it's a blue collar, underdog, hardworking family environment. So you kind of have those 2 things that kind of merge together from the basketball program to the campus to the administration. So when you put those 2 things together, there's always this chip on your shoulder. But at the same time, man, we have our own plane, and we're able to do things. And I mean, we've been number 1 in the country I think 4 of the last 5 years. So it's like high level of success,
right? High
level of humility merged together, and I think that makes us special. Even from just people in Gonzaga just loving us, and not really having the pressure of, man, you gotta win, but man, they just love these guys and they love Gonzaga basketball. It's just different here, and and I think it's special. I think it's really special.
Yeah, my last one, and I'll pass to Eli, and then we'll ask you a funny question at the end. What is from your playing experience and playing at such a high level and playing on the biggest of stages, and how does that, I know you talked about it gives you credibility with the players, but from your coaching aspect and just being able to understand it, how does it relate and how is it different? Because you've done it as a player, now you're coming to a program. Did the 2 programs compare? Was that an easy transition? And then as a coach, are there things that you draw from your experience like, man, if I would have done this, we would have just got this much more, or I did do this and they put us there? Do those things play a big role in what you're doing now and influencing your team?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm always tapping into experiences, and not only just as a player but as a coach. Coaching with Bryce Drew for so many years, Homer Drew, his dad. Being a longtime coach, having a lot of success. Knowing Scott Drew and the family, and then playing for Bill Self and playing with Utah Jazz with Jerry Sloan. I mean, there's been so many experiences that I've had that I kind of just take bits and pieces in my coaching career. Just stories to drills to, man, this is a great play that I saw ran. Just there's so many things that you kind of store in your memory bank, and it just helps you. It helps you in every aspect, man. From skill development to doing scouting reports. To come up with ideas when you're in conversations with the staff is just experience is the greatest teacher. And I didn't know that when I first started coaching. I was really young and like I hadn't had any coaching experience. But now looking back, this is year 10. I've gained a wealth of knowledge, just from game to game, practice to practice, recruit to recruit. It's been pretty cool, seeing.
And then, my final one for you before we toss it back to Brian. Just with this year's team, there's of course a lot of outside noise, and I hear it. Especially, I grew up in Seattle and I've been here all my life, so I hear a lot about what's going on with Gonzaga all the time. As far as this team is concerned, to have won every game on the slate so far, and I know coaches they're born to never be satisfied with what's happened in the past and what's going forward in the future. How do you, as a staff, kind of reiterate what needs to be improved on a day-to-day basis when in large part a lot of these games wind up being comfortable wins? How do you reiterate to your players and say, we need to improve on this today, we need to improve on this tomorrow, and get better as the season goes along?
I think the biggest thing is just the process. It's not about winning or how many points you win by or how many more games we have left to play. It's all about the process. We have goals that we want to pursue. I think last night we became number 16, 6 defense in KenPom. I think our offense has been 1 and 2 kind of throughout the season. So we have numbers and things that we want to hit, and we have ways that we want to play, that we want to compete. Whether it's rebounding, giving up offensive rebounds. There's so many things that we chart, and those are the things that we focus on. And, you can win by 15 points, but if you didn't play the right way, you kind of feel it. You kind of feel it at the end, and especially as a coaching staff, because we're the ones our responsibility is to push these guys. And, and you can't think about, hey, we're 19-0, let's go undefeated. No, we think about the next game, and the next game is the most important game. And the next practice is the most important practice. And it's been fun this year with the depth we have. Because we compete in practice. In practice is like a game for these guys. And I think that is kind of cultivated this season, that competitive nature, where when we get in the games, man, on Monday, the week before we played, man, we had some tough runs, man. Like we had some, game-ending situations where dudes are making plays, and you like, as a coach, you're like, man, this is fun watching right now.
Not as good as when you were playing, though, Coach, last year.
Oh, man, it's a little different now. Yeah, last year, I was getting some buckets out there. Now, the worst thing is when I would score on somebody and I would let them know, because when you're old and you're done playing, you do something good, you make sure it's known. Especially,
you gonna let the old man do that to you?
Oh, hey, Coach Few would always do that, man. And it would just make those guys mad, and then they would try to hit me harder. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's fun, man. Like practice has to be competitive, and that's where I think as we kind of get along in the season and get close to the tournament time, and just developing that competitive nature and get practices. Coach does a great job of that. Our staff is trying to do a great job of that, so that when we get to the game, like it's on. Like we hit each other all week. Now we get to do it to somebody else. And that's where we are, and that's kind of like our mindset, and it's been working so far. So we just got to keep going.
Yep, no doubt. I guess the last thing for me, you already told us funny stuff. So what's the biggest challenge that you guys have leading a team? Now, this team is an elite passing team. You have scoring depth. You check all the boxes. What's the biggest challenge? And I'm sure, as from coaching elite level players, myself coaching in college, those guys want to win as bad as you guys do. So it's not like you got to drive them, I would assume, or motivate them. What is the biggest challenge that people may not see behind the scenes that you can share to your run? And then just what's the biggest challenge to managing this season? So 2-part question, and then we'll let you kind of roll.
Yeah, well, there's tons of challenges. You can just look on the surface, staying healthy. not having your players get COVID. I mean,
Right.
I mean, this year has been crazy. I mean, those are challenges that you don't even think about in the regular season. You know, other teams canceling on you because they had a COVID outbreak and having to reschedule. So those challenges have been an added, I guess, stress, you would say, for a coach. But the other hand is, you know, when you beat a team, and you know, once we get that ball going and we play so fast, we're able to go on runs really quick, and I think that's why we've been able to have some of these large margins of victory, just because we get it. We play fast, and there's no letdown. So when you beat a team like that, and then you play them again, you know, just making sure there's no letdown with our guys, you know. And I think you've seen it. Like, we've had some first halves where, hey man, you know, when you have that number one. Now, are we the best team in the country? I don't know. I think Baylor's really good. I think there's a lot of other really, really good teams. But when you have that number one on you, you know, you're going to get every team's best. I mean, every team is going to come out and they're going to play their best against you. So just making sure our guys are locked in with that, and never take any team for granted, because in college basketball, I mean, it doesn't matter who you're playing, especially, I mean, in our conference, man, we have some teams that can beat anyone on any given day. So making sure we stay focused, making sure we stick to the process, stick to the plan, play the way we're supposed to play, day in and day out. You know, even if we are supposed to be a team by 25 points, like, that doesn't matter. Once the ball is tossed, like, you gotta strap it on. You gotta compete.
Yeah, I just think there's such an elite. I'm watching and I probably almost should have asked this question if I was smart, but we'll save it for next time. But watching Tom Brady do what he does, and watching, you know, the Patriots for those years and the San Antonio Spurs, and Gonzaga just has that it factor formula that's like, the names change, but the jersey's the same, and the what you're going to see, the product is the same. And to be at this elite level that you guys have been at year in and year out is to be commended. And thanks so much for taking the time to come on. Just looking forward to continuing to watch the ride. I know you guys are going for the ultimate prize like Brady is, so nothing else truly matters. I think that's the part that's cool to watch. You can see this team is not satisfied with just being number one. We've already done that. There's more that they want to achieve, and you can see that from you can hear it in your voice. You can see it when Coach Few interviews. You can see it in your team, and it's exciting to be able to follow greatness like that. So I salute you, my brother. Thanks for coming on, taking the time, man. Keep up the great work. Keep wearing those masks, and keep those dudes motivated, but not too motivated where you got to go back out there and show them, Coach. We don't need that to happen.
Look, every once in a while, man. I'm feeling good. I'm gonna get out there and let them know. But I gotta make sure I can still produce, because when I start to see that little decrease, you know, you can't get out there. I gotta leave on a high note, you know. So
no doubt. Yeah. Any last words you got? We'll let you go, Coach.
Yeah, nah, man. You know what? I this. What you guys are doing is great. Like I said, I was listening to Damon, man, and you know, being a young coach, African American coach, you know, and seeing others that have been able to have success, especially with Damon making the transition from being a player to an assistant to a head coach, man, that's valuable, you know, and I commend you guys for opening the doors for guys like myself to continue to hear. Like, those stories are huge. You know, I remember seeing Damon on the road, man. We were kind of like new assistants together, and you know, we had so many conversations about, you know, man, this is what recruiting is like, man. What is it like? What is it like, you know, to do scouts? You know what I'm saying? And you just have those conversations with other coaches on the road, and it kind of builds your philosophy. So, man, keep at it, man. I'm gonna try to tune in as much as I can, just so I can get some nuggets, man, like little nuggets of wisdom from these guys. So thanks for doing what you guys are doing.
Yeah, appreciate it so
really
much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Well, Eli, I'll let you get the breakdown, man. You got the floor, my man. Been an amazing day.
Yeah, it's been pretty special. First, compliments to you for assembling this all together. It's been really good to get a number of people's different perspective, and especially today, it's a heavy day for a lot of reasons. Even beyond Lou Hill and you know, John Chaney and Pedro Gomez, all these guys who we've lost. I think today's kind of a good perspective to kind of sit back and kind of acknowledge that, you know, we're grateful to be doing what we're doing, right? Like this is pretty trivial at the end of the day. So that's really cool. And I think the overall theme today was just a lot of gratitude to be able to do what we're doing, and you know, to being able to sprinkle in some basketball along the way. I mean, what more could you really ask for? So just a lot of really great stuff from coaches who are really empowering one another. That's been something that I've been pretty blown away by, is, you know, like heading into this thing, I'm all, you know, I love following this sport and covering it and everything like that, but I didn't really know what to expect from coaches. I don't know. It was kind of a new thing to me, but man, it makes everything so worthwhile to hear these coaches talk so highly about the people who they're competing against. That's right. Really cool, because at the end of the day, the games that we watch, there's always a winner and loser, but the fact that everyone's so willing to kind of step over that boundary and compliment each other and root each other on, that it gets me going, and that's just I want to run through a brick wall for a lot of these guys, because they're so motivated. They just want you to be the best version of yourself. So it's really cool stuff. Yeah, absolutely, well said. And I think the pandemic and some of the loss has helped people kind of being able to put things in perspective. And yeah, just a great show, man. Just humbled and grateful that these guys will be willing to come on. I think there's a awesome place that has been created, and guys want to be able to share and connect. And I think it was cool to be able to have those guys have a conversation, you know, and those guys kind of get to talk and do it that way, instead of it always being, you know, kind of the other way around, where they're just answering questions and talking about their team. And then in closing, kind of like you said, a tribute to, you know, Big John Thompson, John Chaney, Coach Stewart, Anthony Stewart, who we lost earlier in the year, the gentleman, the scout from the East Coast, Tom, and then Lou Hill in particular. I'm biased towards Lou Hill because I knew him personally. He was in Texas. I'm from Texas, and I had a personal relationship with him. And yeah, just all this stuff is heavy, tough. Again, we always say it to close the show, but tell your loved ones you love them, wear your mask, be great, be grateful. And I think just keep paying it forward, and we'll look forward to next week. Supposedly on next week, we have a baby coming on Tuesday. So we may not have a show. No, we won't have a show. Straight from the hospital room. We won't have a show next week as far as Heat Check. And we may have one Monday. I think we're going to work on doing a Mountain West show Monday, because there's so much going on in the Mountain West. And then All Access will be shutting down the live shows for a couple of weeks and figuring out this baby world. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll have plenty of replay videos and content going out. And, of course, Heat Check CBB will have plenty of articles and great stuff. And, yeah, just we're at the 3-hour mark. So I think it's time. Thanks so much. And, yeah, grateful everybody again. And rest in peace, rest in power, rest in paradise to those gentlemen we mentioned.